any other applications that might be using your camera mic, Skype or Zoom, then refresh the page. Let me try to refresh the page.
Yeah, I would say refresh the page, and then you're in a Google server right now, right?
I believe so.
Okay, I think.
I'm in Gmail, yeah.
Okay, give me one sec.
You hit enter. Dude,
What is it showing you right now?
it says, hold on. Press Control E. No, I guess send me another one.
Okay, here, let me see.
I know exactly that is. Let me try and just go. Just try to send me another one.
Okay. If I guess copy. Here, stay on the phone with me for one sec. Um, okay, I just sent you another thing.
Okay, hold on.
No, and then, okay, I might want to prop this up. What's up, what's up, what's up? Here, I got one person that's watching the live stream. So I gotta, wait, hold on.
Okay. That's working so far.
Oh, it's working?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna try to enter in this video, alright?
All right. There we go.
Do you see me?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, everything's cool.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up on you.
Why are you gonna hang up on me?
Cause you're on the stage.
Oh. What up?
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Bet. Okay, yeah. This is good. So yeah,
Yeah?
we're basically on StreamYard. We're live to YouTube, and then
Mhm.
I'm going to on my PC. So right now I'm off my laptop, and then on my PC I'm gonna take the YouTube footage and then blast it to TikTok. So
Yeah,
this
blast
is
is a strong word.
yeah, this is like a pretty cool thing where we can like use StreamYard and then we can broadcast
Yes.
StreamYard to TikTok if we
This
really
is
wanted to.
this was my yeah, that was my intention.
Oh yeah, about to be a professional ass debate.
A PAB, a PAD.
Yeah. But okay, so you're here now. I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for Benjamin,
Okay,
and
are you streaming to talk as well?
not right now. Only to YouTube, but we barely got any views on YouTube. But we'll see as the night goes on. Definitely from TikTok.
Well, like I've told a bunch of people about it on my side from TikTok, so you'll have some views.
No, okay.
So
But
you're streaming to both. You're streaming to TikTok. You're streaming to Tube.
yeah, and then I think my computer is gonna work. It's been having like some internet connection issues, but like I think it's gonna work. I need to buy a new PC or just swap out a part. But I love the innovation about this thing that I do.
Yeah.
But let me see. Let's see. You can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me text AR. Hey, let me see. AR. See all.
I mean, I think you should but you might as well just stream it to talk now.
Yeah, I'll start that in a sec. Join the link I sent on Discord. We are doing audio test. And then let me see. I recently got texted by Kylo.
Oh, knowledge gap. Hey, how many people are in that crew? Like 100?
Knowledge gap. You talking
Listen,
about Kylo's?
A team
What?
is supposed to be exclusive. If you just let everybody in, it's not exactly exclusive anymore.
Oh, talking about Kylo's debate team.
Everyone has KG now. It's like every dude on debate. Like, okay, which one of y'all are like really in it? Are y'all just buying jerseys at this point? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't like. Which I get what he's doing. Like, we were supposed to. We were trying to create like a debate
Squad.
league.
Mhm.
Yeah, and which was gonna have like multiple different teams and stuff. But like we didn't really end up doing it. But Kylo ended up creating his own like squad. And then yeah, if you see anyone with a KG at the end of their username, they're part of the crew. And I think Kylo's got a Discord, so everyone in that Discord is probably like a part of his squad. I haven't created mine yet, but like if I did create mine, like I'd be probably very specific. I want my debate team to be like solid. Like we come in, we like murder, and then we get the fuck out. Like
you don't want 100 dudes.
yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah,
probably
the dirty dozen was dirty because there was 12 of them. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
You need like a team of like 15 killers, and then like that's it, and then you get out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you need a squad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
But let me see. Okay, yeah, we're just waiting on them, but like yeah, it's gonna start in like about 10 17 minutes. Let me check Benjamin. Let me see if he's doing good. Doing good. Let me see. But yeah, so I got my phone, and then you guys didn't want judges, right? You kind of just want
Well, the thing is this is my thoughts on judges. You can have judges, and they're going to go this guy, but all the atheists are going to go Benjamin, and all the Christians are going to go Constantine. The point is, let the crowd decide for themselves.
yeah.
I don't know of any academic debates that legitimately have declaration winners at the end of them.
Yeah.
I've never seen any, and I've seen live debates where I had to drive to Houston. I watched Dr. James White debate Dr. Leighton Flowers on John 6 unconditional election. And there was no judges, but you just kind of went home and debated on the way who won. I don't. When I first heard there was judges, I guess there's been judges in like debate teams in college and stuff like that. But the problem is, I've poisoned the well pretty deep, right? You're not going to find many people that are going to want to vote for Constantine.
Yeah. Well, like I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, I don't know. I'm not really in the same spaces as like you are in, but like I don't know if I think a lot of people like you for sure.
I think there's a handful. Listen, my mother told me, she's like, "Would you rather have 100 pennies or 4 quarters?"
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So
you're right.
yeah. So I've probably got maybe 1 or 2 fans out there, but I know not many on TikTok for sure.
Okay, here, let me give them a call. Give a call. Where are they at?
All right, you want me to check on the talk?
Yes, send him a DM. But yeah, we're just waiting for Benjamin and AR and OG Kylo. And then yeah, once we got them, we should be good. But Loki, if AR and OG Kylo aren't available, I could host it by myself. And yeah, we just need Benjamin to show up, but like I hope that everyone is available.
I don't see AR online right now.
Okay. Shit. Yeah. But shoot, man, I've been tired. I've been working this TikTok thing, and also like I'm sort of like I have sort of a sore throat, but not really, and like some throat pains. Pause. But
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't see any of those guys online. So
Okay, I guess we're just waiting for him.
you relayed timelines, of course. You told him about the timeline change.
Yeah, I think I told him. So we're gonna do it at 7. Yeah, I told Sir, and then like let's see,
Yeah, I told Sir too.
Sir, and then let me check if I told like AR and them. Pretty sure I did.
Well, I sent. You see, I sent it. What I send to Sir? Yeah. Yep, I sent it to Sir. He gave me a thumbs up. I mean, you'd have received messages by now if he showed up at 5 and was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. We're doing sound check. Blow yell, blow yell, blow yell. Actually, you know what? Okay, yeah, let me also, like, while we're doing this, let me set up live stream, basically. Let's see what we're working with.
Yeah, let me know. I'm gonna hit this vape before you get on TikTok.
Okay. Yeah, I would say now would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
And then I hope, like, swear, I hope that my fucking, I hope that my computer doesn't glitch out today. But like, I'm pretty sure it won't. But okay, give me 1 sec. Let me do this. Go here. Go to YouTube. And then go to YouTube. Go to here. Go to view your channel. And yeah, we're definitely live on YouTube.
Cool.
See it. And then let's streaming tools. Perfect. That's awesome. Okay. Then go live. Okay. Hold on. I might take this debate setup. I might duplicate debate setup. 1 and then hey, give me 1 sec. There we go. Do debates. And then oh yeah. Let's see. And it is, what's the title on TikTok? Does the book of Mark teach?
The Gospel of Mark.
Yeah. Does the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
No, there's just the Gospel of Mark.
Yeah. Oh, I did that to see like I have them memorized, but I was wondering if there's any other book in the Bible that is Mark, but no, it's not.
Mm-mm.
And then it's gonna be on TikTok, not gonna be on YouTube, not gonna be on Twitch. Well, I guess. No, I can download it later. TikTok category. I don't know which one it is. Everyone, confirm and go live. Oh, it's having me log into TikTok. Oh, okay. Team with Google. Weird. Oh my god. No, god damn it.
Don't you have to plug those in before you start the restream?
What?
Where you like when you go to like on restream, I don't know if it's StreamYard is any different, but you got to plug in where it's going live before you pitch the live. I don't know.
Let me see. I wonder if it's live already. Oh, it is live. Oh, it is live. What the heck?
Here, let me check your
Oh, it's just saying in regards to like comments. Okay, yeah, we're live on TikTok.
Okay.
Booyah. But hello YouTube, hello TikTok. Okay, I shared it out. But yep. We're just waiting for. Who are we waiting for?
Benjamin.
Yeah, we're waiting for Benjamin, and then hopefully we can get the other people. 6 minutes. Shoot, they better hurry up and get here.
That's what I'm saying. Are you Mr. Coco Code 3?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say you're live.
Oh no. It's gonna be live on the Day of Debates page.
Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
But
yeah, I see.
Yeah, the audio is coming out clear, so YouTube and TikTok are good. And we just need the individuals to show up. Let's see, call him one more time. Can't get a single one of them. Okay, let's see. I just need to get a hold of Benjamin. Here's what to do. Yep. Constantine. Yo, what's up? Existential Thoughts. He's on TikTok. He's saying Constantine kind of looking like Van Til right now.
Yeah, I don't know what Van Til looks like.
That's an artist. But yeah, thank you people who are on TikTok. There's 6 people on TikTok. Please tap your screens, like the live, share it with anybody who you think might be interested. Right now, we're doing something special on Day of Debates. Basically, we're streaming from StreamYard, and we're pushing it to YouTube and TikTok. This is the first time that we've done this, and it's kind of like new technology, but it provides a more professional format and a professional look in regards to debates, and it's working pretty well. The audio on TikTok is good, and the audio on YouTube is also good. The topic for today is going to be is the Gospel of Mark teaching adoptionism? So essentially,
and you're my opponent.
No, me. No,
oh, you're not. It's not me. Okay, I thought I was debating.
We're waiting on Benjamin.
Okay. I thought I was debating you. I didn't know.
I almost gave you a heart attack. I'm not going to step in for bed. I haven't studied for this, but
no. Okay.
But basically, if you're confused about the topic, does Mark teach adoptionism? It's basically going to be over whether Jesus became the Son of God when he was baptized, or whether he had always been the Son of God from the beginning. Basically, so did the baptism, bring him into that divinity, or did he always have that divinity from birth? Right now, we're waiting on Benjamin. I'm gonna grab my iPad and I'm gonna try to communicate with him. And then, yeah, if AR and OG Kylo can show up, that'd be awesome. But I need to send them the link so they can get on StreamYard, not join via TikTok or YouTube, but we need them to get on StreamYard. And we're gonna try to get this started in the next 2 minutes. But I guess here, let me see the proposition. I'll try to open up my documents if I can. Oh, let's see. Open files. Hopefully oh, hell yeah. My MacBook is working magic today. Let's go. Good job, MacBook. And basically, I'll take one look at the proposition and I'll tell you who the affirmative is. Let's see. So the official topic on the table is Mark. The Gospel of Mark teaches adoptionism. So the affirmative would be Ben, and then Constantine would be the negation. So yeah, if you can, just keep liking that live, sharing it out, and we'll start in a couple moments. We're just trying to get some last details together. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for your patience. I really appreciate it. This stuff's not easy to do, but it's much easier when you guys are supporting, and we appreciate your support. All right, so I've got my little iPad, and then we're here now. We're just waiting on the people to show up. I gotta get them in here. But yeah. Feeling good, Constantine? Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to get the show on the road. We got a lot of stuff that's been studied, a lot of stuff to cover, not a lot of time to do it. I know it's a very niche topic when we get into low or high Christology when it comes to Mark's gospel. And so taking the affirmative, or excuse me, I'm taking the negation, and which would be the historical Christian view that the Son of God, in whom is instantiated by the Father, is pre-existent.
Yep. But let's see. Just getting those people in. I hope that they're available. I hope that they're free. Get in this live. Let me see. I sent him an invite on TikTok, but boop, boop. Okay, let me do a couple more things in preparation. I'll be right back.
Sure. Have you been in contact with Sir?
Yeah, Sir. Let's see. Let me see if he's in the TikTok live stream. No, but Sir knows that we're going to be live right now. I've messaged him for sure.
Right.
But put this here. Grab this. Put this here. Let's see. Okay, that should be good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I see there's 12 people on TikTok. Just hang tight real quick. We're just setting up some final details. We're trying to get all the participants into the live stream. If you can, tap your screens, like the live, send gifts. That'd be awesome, but you don't have to. We just simply appreciate your presence. But gifts do help us to fund this project and keep it going. But you don't have to. We genuinely just appreciate you guys being here. So if you can, just hang tight for a moment while we're grabbing everybody and getting everybody into the event. We're streaming from StreamYard and we're broadcasting to TikTok and YouTube. So if you want to watch this on our YouTube channel, go to Day of Debates, no spaces on YouTube, and you'll find it live streaming on YouTube. You can also send comments there. But let's see. Then I'll look at Discord. Let's see if we got Benjamin. I'm on Team Consti. Don't let me down, bro. Hierophant from TikTok is saying I'm on Team Constantine. Don't let him down. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the.
We'll see. That's a tall order.
Yeah. If evolution, well, okay, that's a whole different topic. Erica Kirk Vance. There's somebody on TikTok named Erica Kirk Vance.
Is evolution true? Believers' cognition developed for survival, not to know God. Why? Address it. Yeah, different debate, different topic, different time.
Yeah, not for this debate. That's a whole different thing. Let's see. I did tell Ben to be early, very early. I told him to be prepared at 6.
Yeah.
6:30. But let me check for him. I need my little tablet thing to move faster. What's happening with the tablet? But here, let me go check on. Let me check via my phone.
Alrighty.
Okay, I haven't got a response from Benjamin, but yeah, we need him to show. Like that right now would be the good time to show.
Yeah, considering that we have a debate, it would be good if the opponent was present for it.
Let's see. Hey, Ben.
Dwight, it's Benjamin Britton.
Join the live via the link. Mm. But yeah, let me see. Don't got anyone. Okay, guys, so we're just waiting. We're just waiting for Benjamin Britton, 66.
Actually, Dwight said he's going to message him. I would message Sir as well, seeing that they're, I believe they're close friends from what I gather.
Yeah, let's try to get a hold of Benjamin and Sir.
Yeah.
And then we're just waiting to see if.
I
they'll
thought
show.
I saw Benjamin on a live today.
Yeah, I messaged him earlier today.
Yeah.
He should be on his way.
Well, in any case, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, hope he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Benjamin. Yeah, I haven't got anything from him. I'm looking at the StreamYard thing. But I guess while we're waiting.
Thank you, Dwight. I just hope there's no need for concern, like I hope he's okay or whatever. I know the weather's bad. I hope his power's okay. It could be a number of things, but I'd like to give him enough time to show. I'm hoping he does anyway.
Yep, yeah. But yeah, I guess while we're waiting, I'll be looking at the comments and answering any questions if anyone's got anything for me. What's up, Lip? Good to see you. What's up, Not the Real Dwight? Good to see you. Jonah, Paul Vibes, good to see you guys. But yeah, if you guys could message Benjamin, let's try to see if we can get him in. We need to get Benjamin in as soon as possible. But yeah, we're trying something new. We're live from StreamYard. It's a streaming program that helps you to broadcast to multiple platforms at a time. We're on the free plan, and that is allowing us, it gives us pretty good benefits. And then, there are even better benefits whenever you pay for the other plans. But yeah, hopefully we can get Ben in here. I did tell him to show up at 6:30 for a sound check. But
yeah, for dress rehearsals. I was here for dress rehearsals.
Constantine was early, but I hope people got to show up on time, man. People got to show up on time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's see. If we can get him in here, then that'd be good, and then we can literally start the debate. But to be honest, if anyone would like to join the panel to talk, I'd have to get you the link to Streamlabs. But if you have access to a computer, that would be best. But sure, you can join off your phone. I can give you a link. You could copy and paste it into the browser, and then we could probably have some conversation. So, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna post the link in the TikTok comments, and actually, someone tell me in the TikTok comments. Can you copy TikTok comments, copy and paste, and you could post stuff into your browser? Let me know.
Yes, he is.
Oh, they said yes?
No, Abeshari asked if the other opponent was an atheist. Yeah, I do believe that
Oh, wait, we got him. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
sorry, I must have messed up the time.
Oh no, you're totally good. You're totally good. Let me change the layout here. It kind of has us divided into 3. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm not the main guy. Oh no, not that. How do I make you? Oh wait, can I? No. Okay, bear with me, guys. I'm figuring out this technology. Maximize. Let's see. Okay, bear with me.
Hey, Benjamin, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Ben. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, I might have to do it the crop. I'm gonna have to do it this way. Okay, I think we might have to do it this way. But
That's fine.
yeah, with the 3
Yeah.
division. Okay, I think this could possibly work. We'll probably have to do it this way. I'm looking at the layouts, and that's kind of what we got for the moment. But okay, so I guess I'm just gonna get straight to it. Thank you guys for being here. There's 22 people here for this Day of Debates event. It's basically Day of Debates 9, a contesting of the divine. That's what we called it. Today we got one debate on the schedule. It's going to be Constantine Chronicles versus Benjamin. Here I have your username. Give me one sec. Versus Benjamin Britten 66, and they're basically going to be debating over the topic: is Mark adoptionary? Or does Mark teach adoptionism? Yeah, and basically, if you're wondering, like, what is adoptionism? What is, what are you talking about when you say does Mark teach adoptionism? Basically, the question is, did Jesus become God or the Son of God after he was baptized, or was he always the Son of God? Did he gain divinity at the baptism scene where the dove lands on his shoulder and like the heavens open up, or did he always have this from birth when he came out of Mary via, the divine miracle of the virgin birth, right? So in regards to like the format for today's debate, it's going to be 7-minute openers with 5-minute rebuttals, with 2 rounds of 10-minute cross-examination, and then 4-minute closers. I think this whole entire debate should be like 1 hour and 12 minutes. Since we're doing this via Streamlabs and we're broadcasting to YouTube and TikTok, it's going to be kind of weird to do audience questions, but we'll figure something out. I'd have to give you guys a link. And then via that link, you can join StreamYard and we can have you join the panel and ask your question. So we'll figure that out. If you guys can, if you want to do me a favor, type in the comments whether you can copy and paste comments from TikTok, the app, because I could paste the link in TikTok and we can do it that way. But given that, I'm going to set a timer and we're going to get started. I'm going to set it on my laptop here. And what I've got for the topic is Mark teaches adoptionism. So Ben, you would have the affirmation. So you're going to have the first 7-minute opener. And are both of you guys ready? Good to go? Everything good?
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yeah. And then, Ben, we're having some trouble with Ben. Give me one sec. Ben, if you can hear us, you got disconnected. You got disconnected. I'm going to send him a message. You got disconnected. Let me try to send him another. Invite. Maybe a different link. Invite guest. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me check. Okay. Oh, you doing good, Ben?
Yeah, I think so. You guys can hear me all right and everything?
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you live via your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could, it probably would be best to do it from a laptop, but the phone could work.
Let me do the laptop then. Just give me 1 second to get back on.
Yeah, a laptop or computer would probably be best.
Okay.
But a phone can work if if that's not an option. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Bell, I see you. Thank you for being here. Shark, I see you. Or Synergy Willikers, I see you. Thank you for being here. Stephen Mathematics, thank you guys for being here. There's 32 people in the TikTok live stream. I can see you guys. Please tap your screens, like the live, share with anybody who you think might be interested. Again, the topic for today is Mark teaches adoptionism. What's on the table is, was Jesus always divine since the virgin birth, or did he become divine when he was baptized?
Well, there's no birth narrative in Mark, so it would.
Okay. Oh, okay. But yeah. Ultimately, like, did he gain his divinity when the sky opened up, the dove landed on his shoulder
Yes.
after the baptism?
Was
For
he
sure.
exalted at a specific state, or was he pre-existent prior to the narrative?
Absolutely.
Right.
But yeah, we're just waiting for Ben to come back, and then we'll be good to go. And yeah, he's just getting on a computer. But yeah, I'm happy that both contestants are here. Oh, thank goodness. And yeah, we can get this debate started.
Yeah.
What's up, Paul? Oh yeah. I know Paul vibes. Like, Constantine at the beginning, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm debating you, Coco," and I was like, "Me?" Like, I don't know much about Jesus' divinity and like that stuff, but definitely learning. I'm gonna get there someday. But Constantine has done very good work. He's very well studied, one of the top tier debaters for theism. And Benjamin is also very well studied. He is amongst the best for atheism in regards to like Sir, in regards to what other, you could probably throw Forrest Mendez up there. He knows his Bible from front page to back page. What are some other atheists that have read the Bible cover to cover? J. Mike. Yeah, Benjamin is also up there with some of the best atheist debaters who know their Bible cover to cover. But yeah, I know bits and pieces of the Bible, but not cover to cover for sure. But But yeah, we're just waiting on Ben, and maybe I need to send him another link. No, I think he should be all right. But actually, I mean, hell, like, people in the comments on TikTok, name some of your favorite atheist debaters. Who do you think knows the Bible cover to cover, memorized, does
Like
a really good job?
biblical atheist or like philosophical atheist?
Biblical atheist.
I think Dalton and DZ are pretty sharp.
Okay, Dalton and DZ. I have to check them out.
The Bible guy and Deconstruction Zone.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Why didn't I even think of those? Those are like the titans for like
Yeah.
biblical like atheists.
Mhm.
Deconstruction Zone Justin knows the Bible from back to back, will cook most Christians on TikTok, if not all Christians on TikTok. I haven't seen a lot of Christians, go toe to toe with Deconstruction Justin and actually like do well. And then, of course, the Bible guy, like the Bible guys who we go to for knowledge. Like we ask
yeah.
the Bible guy questions about the Bible. Like he's the GOAT. For sure. All right, Ben. Welcome back.
And is my microphone working?
Yeah, it sounds good and clear. Okay, so we're gonna get this show on the road. So I am getting a timer on Google, and your opening statement is going to be 7 minutes. I'm gonna set that up, and then we're gonna get started. Let's see, 7:00. Yep, and then you can start. The timer will start whenever you say your first word.
Okay, am I starting?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question at hand today is whether the Gospel of Mark teaches adoptionism. So I just want to clarify a little bit of the parameters of my argumentation. I'm not making an argument about the historical Jesus. We're not going to be subjecting the Gospel of Mark to any type of historical criticism. Our focus is not on trying to get back to the historical apocalyptic Jewish prophet that is Jesus Christ in the first century Galilee. We're here to focus on the Gospel of Mark specifically and on Mark's description of Jesus and what Mark says. We're not looking to try to figure out what really happened at this event or what are the historical kernels that lie behind the story. We're not even going to get into the interesting relationship between John the Baptist and Jesus and their movements and their possible relationship. And we're not even making a claim that Mark is giving a more accurate account than any of the other gospels, or that you should take Mark's account as like the account of the baptism. All we're trying to do is make a argument on what Mark is saying without sort of taking all the other gospel accounts into account as well. So our endeavors consist more of a close examination of Mark's account on its own without preconceived notions, unsubstantiated assumptions, or theological goggles. We're going to let the text guide us without any immediate resistance that comes from our first inclination or our sort of familiar interpretations of the text. And we don't have any goal like to destroy orthodoxy or to criticize Christianity. We're just trying to read Mark and be honest about what Mark is actually saying. There are like a bunch of, I'm trying to think if I can see the timer. How much time do I have left?
4 minutes and 55 seconds.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a bunch of interesting discussions when it comes to the Gospel of Mark, about the identity of the author, unnamed in our earliest papyrus fragments, and most scholars think is anonymous. There's tradition from the church that the gospel is written by Mark, the secretary of Peter, but most scholars do not accept that, and that tradition is late. It comes from Eusebius in the 4th century, quoting from Papias in the 2nd century, or the 1st and 2nd century. And the dating of Mark isn't perfect, although most scholars agree, sorry, my dog's barking in the background, that Mark is written after the fall of the temple in 70 AD. Mark is written in Greek, but has Aramaic words that Mark actually gives the translation to, and also Latin words. And it doesn't seem to be written to an audience that is Aramaic speakers, because Mark gives the translation, and it doesn't seem to be written to like the original followers of Jesus from Galilee. It's got more of a Greco-Roman audience. Let's see. So I'm just going to limit my arguments basically to the beginning of Mark that deal with the baptism specifically. And I'll only briefly touch on an early textual issue in Mark 1:1, and maybe a little bit on the end of Mark 16. But otherwise, like, just again, just a simple reading of what Mark is actually saying. And our two presuppositions that we're going to use to get to the text is, one, we want to reconstruct the text in as much as we can to what Mark actually wrote. So there are textual variants. Since Mark was the earliest gospel, it actually has a lot of textual issues in the early copies. We can talk about textual variations and how we decide on what the text is. But our first goal is to actually decide like what Mark wrote as close as we can from where we are. And then the second thing that we're going to do is just to let Mark speak for himself. So it's easy with these sort of familiar stories to have like synoptic brain take over and to harmonize everything together and start filling in details that we don't see in Mark's account with accounts from the other gospels. And I want to just like start out to really resist that and to let Mark speak for himself without any type of like prejudgment or theological framing that we put on top of him. Okay, so let's talk about textual variations a little bit. In the ancient world, texts would be texts like the Gospel of Mark would be reproduced by copying. There were no printing presses, there were no desks. So it would be a scribe copying a text onto another piece of papyrus or another scroll. And sometimes those scribes would make mistakes. So we have, various levels of people that were copying these texts. Some of them were well trained. Some of them were probably even illiterate and were just like copying based on the symbols that they saw. But it's easy to make mistakes. It happens even today when you do copying. If there are like two paragraphs where the same word appears, sometimes your eye slips to the second word and you miss like that whole block of text in
1 minute left.
between. What do you say?
1 minute left.
Okay. So we get different copies of the text, and we have some variations in the Gospel of Mark, and they actually are in really important parts of the Gospel of Mark. And one of those is in the baptism itself, and it's the word, the Spirit coming to Jesus. And so we have a variation in Mark 1:1. It either goes upon Jesus or it goes onto Jesus. And both are widely attested, and it's not necessarily easy to know. So we have these two copies, onto and upon. The only problem is onto could also mean into, and into implies that the Spirit is going into Jesus.
Okay, and your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you for your opening statement, Ben. And now we're going to get into Constantine's opening statement. Here, let me set up the timer. You got 17 minutes on the clock, and it starts when you say your first word.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. Hey, thanks for platforming my position contra to adoptionism, which holds that Jesus begins as an exceptionally righteous human being, yet it offers no coherent narrative explanation for how or why this merely human figure would later be elevated to divine sonship. So what I'm defending is the negative, and that Mark does not advance an adoptionist Christology. And so from its opening verse, the gospel situates Jesus not as a figure awaiting divine promotion, but as the already pre-existent, already pre-divine Son whose identity precedes and grounds every subsequent event in Mark's account. So the issue, therefore, isn't when Jesus becomes the Son, but whether the reader attends to the identity Mark has declared from the outset. So my arguments are going to rest entirely on Mark's own Greek grammar without appealing to Matthew, Luke, or John's explicit pre-existent narratives. So the focus is strictly on Mark chapter 1, verse 1 through 3, which is the very passage where the adoptionist reading must either stand or collapse. So the verb forms, right, will be allowed to speak for themselves, interpreted according to the standard BDAG lexical categories and the established rules of the scholastic Erasmian Greek grammar. So in addition, my hermeneutic deployment will be prosopological exegesis, which is the interpretive method that identifies intercommunication of speaking persons within the prophetic text that are demonstrated to demonstrate that the Old Covenant citations Mark invokes already depict Jesus as the pre-incarnate Son, right? So this creates a two-pronged dilemma for the adoptionist case. Either the Greek grammar and the Old Testament theology require a pre-existent Son, or my opponent must revise the Old Testament as well as the Greek grammar in ways Mark himself clearly did not. So the first prong of my assault on the adoptionist case is the Greek grammar. So Mark begins with a verbless declarative, which states arche tu euangeliou Jesu Christou huiou theou, which is the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God. There's no finite verb here. This is a nominative absolute title, and the absence of the copula creates a timeless declaration. So Mark is proclaiming Jesus' divine sonship as the eternal premise of the entire story, rather than waiting for later narrative developments to clarify the point. So Mark establishes his prologue thesis up front, so the characters unfolding misunderstandings do not mislead the reader, as per typical Greco-Roman biographies. But verb 2 opens with the very first finite verb, kathos gegraptai, as it stands written, which is the third person singular perfect indicative passive form of grapho. Now, the perfect denotes a completed action with ongoing results. And so, therefore, the verse break does not signal a new idea, and kathos does not introduce a separate topic, right? So, grammatically, this opening declaration is a continued statement that would be like, it would sound like the beginning of the gospel of the Jesus Christ, the Son of God, as it stands written in the prophet Isaiah. So that binds the pericope directly to Christ, who appears in verse 1, showing that he's the subject of what stands written and therefore presupposed as pre-existent. So Mark at chapter 1 and verses 2 and 3 invokes two of the most unmistakable Old Testament prophecies, which are the personal coming of Yahweh himself. And these are theophanic promises. The Lord Yahweh comes in person with might to judge and redeem. Mark quotes them verbatim from the Septuagint, and he fuses them and applies the entire eschatological weight to Jesus. So John prepares the way for Jesus, who John calls kurios, not for some future agent, not for an adopted human king, and not for a delegated messenger. So the one whose way is being prepared is the kurios, which is the personal name of Yahweh in the Greek Septuagint. So the quotation fuses Malachi 3:1, Exodus 23:20, Isaiah 40 at verse 3. But Mark attributes it to Isaiah because this is Isaiah 40 at verse 3 is the dominant Yahweh coming text. So the first person singular present indicative active is the dramatic present, which portrays a future event that's already in motion. So God's not saying here, someday I will send or someday he will send. He is speaking directly to the Son in private revelation, just as he will in the continuing verses that outline the privacy and declaration during his baptism. So the second prong of my assault on the adoptionist position is the Old Covenant theology, where Mark presents Jesus not as a representative of Yahweh, not as an adopted agent, but as the personal arrival of Yahweh incarnate. When he invokes Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3, and in both the Hebrew as well as the Septuagint, it speaks explicitly of Yahweh's own return. A voice cries in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make straight in the desert a highway of our God. And the following verses describe God's glory being revealed in his personal coming to shepherd his people. And Malachi 3:1 serves to intensify this when he states, Idu apostelo ton angelon mu prosoposu, before your face, the ha-adon, the kurios, and whom you seek will come to his temple. The temple belongs to Yahweh alone, and he never shares that ownership title or prerogative with any other creature. The title ha-adon, with a definite article, is reserved exclusively for Yahweh, and the Hebrew scriptures never attribute the temple to an adopted human. It's always and only God's possession. Therefore, when Malachi says the messenger of the covenant will come to his temple, the pronoun forces the conclusion that the one coming is the temple's rightful owner. And since only Yahweh can claim the temple as his own, the messenger cannot be a created being. So Mark quotes these two Yahweh coming texts. He fuses them and applies the entire decree to Jesus' arrival. The only logical explanation is to allow the plain reading of the text to conclude Jesus is God incarnate, seeing as Mark identifies him with Yahweh's own arrival. So the one whose personal coming requires a wilderness highway, whose glory all flesh will see, and that one is Jesus. And Mark understands these passages as Yahweh incarnate, arriving in the person of Jesus, the eternal Lord whose coming was foretold as the suffering servant, now walking in flesh, right? So no other figure fits this. There's no human Messiah. There's no adopted king. It's just Yahweh himself and Jesus. And the
1 minute left.
And the shift in personal pronouns from the me and the mine to the you and the your in the opening verses suggest, or demand rather, a relationship between the Father and Son that reflects characteristics associated with the title kurios, which is traditionally reserved exclusively for God. So the linguistic transition presents a theological challenge to adoptionism, making the framework untenable. So Mark believed Jesus was the eternal divine Son from the prologue, and adoptionism needs a moment Jesus becomes the Son. So Mark's Greek and the heavenly decree he quotes give no such moment, only a revelation of what eternally is. Thank you, and God bless.
Brilliant. And thank you, Constantine. That's going to be both of the opening statements. So now that those are done, we're now going to move into let me check my notes. We're now going to move into brief 5-minute rebuttals to the opener. So Ben, you're going to get 5 minutes to rebut the opener, and let me set up the timer. Let's see. 500, and yeah, your rebuttal starts whenever you say your first word.
Okay. So I don't necessarily have like a huge disagreement with Constantine's reading. Again, what I would say is that I think it violates what I'm trying to do, in the sense that it comes in with a lot of baked assumptions. So for one, I would just say, as a point of reference, and this was going to be my whole entire first point, Jesus Christ, the Son of God is not in the earliest texts. That variation, like, that just doesn't exist. And almost all critical scholars think that that's a later addition. And almost any Bible that you look in will have a footnote there that says that it's not in some of the earliest witnesses. So, and again, the way this works with textual criticism is you have a textual variant, like the Son of God in some documents, and not the Son of God, just Jesus Christ in other documents. So how are scholars supposed to decide which is the original? Well, the critical technique that they use is to say that the harder reading is probably more original, because a scribe would be more likely to change a reading to fit into orthodoxy than to change a reading to contradict orthodoxy. So if you have a text that says, one text that says Jesus is the Son of God, and another text that just doesn't have that phrase, it's more likely that that phrase is missing and was added later when a higher Christology was the accepted theology. So that's like a really central part of my argument, is that Son of God title in 1:1 is not actually part of Mark's original gospel. And then I would just say that I think that Constantine said that John is proclaiming that Jesus is the coming of the Lord, but John does not proclaim that at all he doesn't say that at all in Mark's gospel. What John says is, the one who is more powerful than I is coming after me. I am not worthy to stoop down and untie the thong of his sandals. I have baptized you with water, but he will baptize you with the Holy Spirit. That's what John says about Jesus. The quote from the prophets is Mark puts that in. That's not attributed to John the Baptist. It has nothing to do with, it's before John the Baptist even appears in the text. And I would just strongly disagree that there is any place in the Hebrew Bible where it predicts that Yahweh will return in the flesh as a man. Like, that just does not happen. Like, that's not what's happening in the passages that this is quoting. And that doesn't seem like that's what's being implied here either. Like, the coming of the way of the Lord is, yes, Jesus is bringing the kingdom of God. That's the way of the Lord. Jesus will be slowly identified throughout the text with Yahweh in various different subtle ways. And at the end of the text, he is like, his body is apotheosized, if that's a word. His body disappears from a tomb, and it's implied that he's a god. Now, we know these things because it would be a Greco-Roman audience that would be reading this gospel, and they would be like attuned to these type of clues. But I think that it's a very Christian later reading to impose on Mark to go back and say he's quoting the Septuagint to say that Yahweh is coming in the flesh in Jesus, and that John is about to predict that. I just think that's a strain on what the text is actually saying.
1 minute left.
And let's see if there was anything else. And a pre-existent identity marker, I think, is like definitely nowhere in the text. I would just challenge Constantine's notion that is anywhere even implicit in the text.
And will that conclude your rebuttal?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you for your rebuttal, Ben. I'm going to pause the timer. You had like 28 seconds left. And I'm restarting the timer. Now it is your turn, Constantine, and the timer will start whenever you say your first word.
Cool. Yeah, so the Son of God omission. So the only sources that record Mark 1:1 with the Son of God before the manuscripts that omit it, like Sinaiticus Original and Papyrus 100, would be Tatian's Diatessaron, which was composed around 160 to 175 AD. The surviving Arabic and Latin versions, along with Ephraim the Syrian's 4th century commentary on the Diatessaron. They opened with the title or the incipit at the beginning of the Gospel of Jesus Christ, the Hagios tou Theou, the Son of God. In addition to that, we have Irenaeus of Lyons in his book Against Heresies, which is written around 180 AD. So that's in 3.10.5, I think. And then he quotes it again in 3.11.8, where he also says it twice. He directly quotes Mark, the beginning of the Gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. These are the two earliest sources that directly record the phrase Son of God in Mark, both from the 2nd century, long before any manuscripts that omit it. I'm not really concerned with what the Alexandrians kept or failed to keep. I'm only interested in the earliest citations that preserve the text. Therefore, the Son of God stands, and so does the consensus. So when we debate Mark's Christology, I think the responsible method is to stay inside of Mark's narrative and his grammar, and not to impose later theories onto his text. I'll agree with my opponent there. But when you actually read Mark, the adoptionist reading collapses immediately. For example, at the baptism, the heavenly voice declares, "You are my son," using the stative present of su a, which in Greek expresses an existing state, not a newly created one. So if Mark wanted to say, "You have become," or "Today I have made you," he had the vocabulary genomai, which he uses 22 other times, and semeron geneskase from Psalms 2:7. By the way, it is a Psalms 2:7 quote, but he deliberately avoids the adoptionist language that says, "Today I've begotten you." He omits that part. If he was an adoptionist, I think he would have kept that. But he does blend it with the declaration of Isaiah 42:1's phrase, "En soy eurokesa," which is a dramatic aorist expressing God's enduring delight in his chosen servant, not a moment for a new identity or a change in ontology there. So this is reinforced again by the prologue itself. Before Jesus appears, Mark cites Isaiah 43, Malachi 3:1, both of which describe Yahweh himself coming to his people. Mark applies these Yahweh texts directly to Jesus, identifying him as the Lord whose way is prepared. The heavens, they don't tear open to create sonship. They're tearing open to reveal it when it says sketsemeneus, right? So that violence is unreversible. It's an echo again. It happens again at the cross. It happens again when the temple veil tears. It's a book ending to the gospel with the divine disclosure. I don't see it to be any type of adoptionism. And so, the phrase ace has a wide semantic range, into, onto, for, to. We can do a lot with that because it's not declinable. So it has no real noun rules or verb rules that are very strict. But when we see the baptism scene, it also functions as a typology of the death, burial, and resurrection, which is central to Mark's narrative logic. Jesus goes down into the water, that's burial. He rises out of it, that's resurrection. He receives spirit, that's new creation. There's an anointing. He's immediately driven into the wilderness, just like the Exodus narrative, the path of suffering. This anticipates the pattern that Mark repeats at the transfiguration and the passion, identity revealed. There's suffering embraced. There's vindication granted. There's nothing about this scene that suggests a change in Jesus's ontological status, but it is a preview of the gospel's climax, not the origin of his sonship. This perfectly fits with Mark's broader Exodus motif, where Jesus reenacts the Israel's story as the embodiment of God's saving presence. John is the wilderness herald. Jesus passes through the water. He enters into the wilderness for 40 days. He feeds the people in desolate places. He reveals divine glory. On a mountain, he leads the people towards Jerusalem. He confronts oppressive powers. He institutes a new covenant at Passover, and he accomplishes liberation through his own death and resurrection. And the original Exodus, Israel is already God's son before passing in through the sea, which is what the baptism represents. He's going into the Jordan to go into the wilderness again. So the water reveal and commission. They do not create sonship. And Mark follows the same pattern. The baptism is the new Red Sea. The wilderness is the new 40 years. The temptation and failure are now fulfilled in 40 days. And obedience has nothing to do with adoptionism. The theology doesn't align, and the grammar doesn't align either. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. And with that, that will conclude the rebuttals for the debate. Thanks for both of your rebuttals. Thanks for both your opening statements. Now we're going to move on to cross-examination. Ben, you're going to get 10 minutes. Constantine, you're going to get 10 minutes. So we're going to do it one more time, and then we're going to go to closers. So let me set up that timer. 0, 0. Okay, Ben, your cross-examination starts whenever you say your first word. Good. Oh, you're muted, Ben. Oh, sorry.
So let's look at those two passages that are quoted. You said of the references. So the prophet Isaiah, it's Isaiah. What's the reference, Constantine?
It's Isaiah 43 is what he's quoting, as well as Malachi 3:1.
So Isaiah 43, and you say Yahweh comes in person in this chapter, right?
Yeah, Yahweh. Isaiah 43 is a real predominant Yahweh coming text. Correct.
Because it's to the Israelites in Babylon, right? The Babylonian captivity.
Yeah, I mean, you could take the Orthodox Jewish perspective and say this is not about Jesus, but what we're concerned with today is what Mark thinks it is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so when does Yahweh come according to this passage?
Well, according to
the-
Mark,
to the-
he's coming right now.
No, but I mean, you said he comes. You said we can know it's the coming of Yahweh because Yahweh comes in Isaiah 43, right?
Yeah, that's what Mark is proclaiming.
That's not my question. You said we can know Mark means Yahweh is going to come in the flesh because that's what Isaiah 43 says. So I'm saying, when does Yahweh come in the flesh in Isaiah 43? When did he come in the flesh to rescue them from Babylon?
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with Mark's gospel.
Well, then where are we getting that reading from?
Yeah,
Because
from
you
where
said
Mark
it was
quotes
coming
it.
from Isaiah.
Yeah, he quotes Isaiah. That's why he says, according to the
Right.
prophet Isaiah.
So where in Isaiah does it show Yahweh coming as a human?
It says, all glory, he will come and all flesh shall see it. And then and it's also Malachi 3, by the way.
Okay, so, but does that happen in Isaiah?
Does it happen in Isaiah? I mean,
Yeah, like
sure, maybe, yeah.
who's the passage in Isaiah too? It's to the Israelites in the Babylonian captivity, right?
Oh, yeah, sure, cool.
So we know that Mark is referencing this passage to show that God is coming in person, right?
Yeah, all flesh
that-
will see it.
Okay, but that doesn't happen in this passage.
Oh, that's why Jesus shows
So
up.
why would people say, "Oh, he's referencing this passage and saying that God is coming in flesh," when that's not what that passage says?
Yeah, of course it does, because the personal pronoun changed from the me and the my to the you and the your, and then after that it says, "Make way straight the path of our Lord," which is a kurios, which is a direct exchange in the Septuagint for God. That's Jesus, because he's the one who shows up.
Well, the Septuagint would not be the version that most of these people were reading.
Why don't
right?
you think Mark uses? I'm sorry, I can't ask questions. Yeah, Mark is
uses
quoting
the
the Septuagint.
because Mark is writing to a Greek audience.
Right, so that's what he's quoting. That's why he says kurios, which is a direct translation of Yahweh.
Right. Okay. Let's go back to Isaiah 43. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. What's the exact verse? Let's look at the exact verse that he's quoting.
Yeah, I believe it's verse 3. But you would have to invoke the entire chapter on that too.
Okay, so let's look at the whole chapter. It says Israel's
No, I
only
mean, yeah, you could
Savior,
open the entire chapter. Go ahead.
right? So
Say again.
So let's read it. But now this is what the Lord says: He who created you, Jacob, he who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name.
Are you in chapter 40?
43.
No, chapter 40 at verse
40 verse 3. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And the Septuagint is Greek, and this is prophecy that Mark is applying to Jesus of Nazareth.
I
right?
understand what Mark is trying to do, but
Mhm.
I think you're misrepresenting what Mark is trying to do.
You mean
and
when he
can't
calls him
show me
when he
in the
calls him
original
God?
text, and you can't show me in the original text where it actually says that.
Yeah, verse 3.
Right. Okay. A voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight
Yeah,
the
kurios,
desert,
that's
the
God.
highway for our God. Right.
And then Jesus
so
shows
who
up.
is that talking about in this verse?
Jesus, because we're talking about Mark.
Who is it talking about in Isaiah? Like when the people read it in Isaiah, who did they think Isaiah was talking about?
Talking about the Gospel of Mark. If you're just going to attack the prophecies and say that's
No,
not about
I'm
Jesus,
saying-
we're not here to do that. We're here to talk about what Mark believed. Mark believed that Jesus is the coming Yahweh because
Okay,
he
so
says it.
forget about anything that Isaiah actually believed of what this prophet said.
No,
right?
why would I do
We're
that?
only
Mark
just
quotes
talking about
Isaiah.
what Mark says.
No,
Okay,
because
so
Mark
like
quotes
I said-
Isaiah. I'm not going to do that. It's his. I'm going to use his. I'm going to use his narrative because that's what he produced.
Yeah, but we don't know what Mark means by.
Of course, he does. He wrote it out for you.
You said we know he's talking about the coming of Yahweh as a person
Yeah.
in a human form, right?
All flesh
How
will
do
see
you know
it.
that?
Yeah,
How do
all
you know
flesh will
that?
see it.
All flesh will see what?
Yeah, the coming of the Lord.
Okay, in a human form?
Yeah, so this is what Mark believes. I mean, you can take the Orthodox Jewish position and say this,
Again,
Mark is wrong, but we're
How
talking
do we
about
know
what
that Mark
believed.
believes that? You're not showing me that Mark believes that. You're just making a claim that that's what Mark believes. That's the
Well, yeah,
whole, like,
because he wrote
question.
it. It's
That's
because he
the whole
wrote it.
question. Where
Yeah,
did
the
he
question
write
is
it?
he believes it because he wrote it.
Where did he write it?
Yeah, he wrote it in chapter 1. In his
Where did
opening
he write
prologue.
it?
In the prologue, Mark writes it in chapter 1,
Where he
verses
says
1
the
through
Son
4.
of God?
No,
The Son of God
directly
doesn't
after
mean
that,
Yahweh is in flesh.
when he cites the Old Testament prophecy and that he attributes it to Jesus, and the personal pronoun shift and the direct prosopological exchange between the me and the
So
my
Mark
become the
has
you
a
and the
different
your.
Mark has a different version of what Isaiah means than what the original people who were reading Isaiah
Okay, what's
means.
different
We're
about it?
supposed to know that how.
Oh, wait. So so this is about what different people think about Mark, or is this
No,
a debate
you
about what
can't
Mark
show me
believes?
from Mark that that's what he thinks, and you can't show me from Isaiah that that's what he
Of
thinks.
course I can, because
You're
he
just
wrote it.
making a claim.
No,
that
I'm
that's
making
what
the
he
claim from the
thinks.
scriptures.
What scriptures? Not Isaiah.
Yeah,
in
Mark
Isaiah's
chapter.
context, and not
Yeah,
Mark.
Mark chapter 1 in the prolegomena.
Mark 1, when he
Yeah.
says what?
Yeah, he says, okay, so what Mark
When he
chapter
quotes
1, right?
Isaiah, right?
He also quotes Malachi and Exodus 23:20.
So what's Isaiah saying? Isaiah is saying people that are caught in captivity will be set free when the Lord comes. Yeah, I would say that's like an apocalyptic
all flesh
promise
will see it.
for the Son of God.
And he
when
comes straight to his temple, which
Exactly.
Jesus is
When
about
the
to
Son of
do.
God
So
comes, Jesus.
yeah, and he's coming straight to his temple, which, by the way, he's about to do. So the issue isn't did Mark quote the whole prophecy, it's that he didn't need to. The Jewish authors routinely cited the opening lines of passages to invoke the entire section. Mark's audience knew these texts, and when he quotes the beginning, he's pulled the whole prophetic.
Pause real quick.
Go ahead.
Ben, you went mute for a little
Yeah.
bit. Are you good now?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, continue. Go ahead, Constantine.
Well, yeah, it's just, Mark doesn't need to quote every line for the audience to hear the whole passage. He signals the text and the rest comes with him, right?
Well, okay. Who do you think Mark's audience is?
They're Romans, probably some Jews in there too.
So how would they be familiar with Isaiah?
What, are you going to make a blanket statement and say that early Christian Romans didn't understand the Septuagint?
I'm saying you're not explaining how the Septuagint says what you're claiming it says, and you're not explaining how in Mark.
Yeah, prepare the way for the
claiming what
coming
you
of the
said it
Lord.
says.
So yeah, so
what does
so
the coming of the Lord mean? That's an ambiguous phrase. It doesn't mean God coming in flesh. No one would have understood that.
Yeah.
Before the Gospels, before John, no one would have ever thought Yahweh came in the flesh.
Yeah, but then Mark says he does when he says that
He
prepare the way
doesn't.
or the coming of the Lord. Yeah, he does, because then
Coming
Jesus
of the
shows
Lord,
up.
the way of the coming of the Lord doesn't mean the
Yeah,
Lord
who's
is
the
coming
Lord?
in flesh.
Who's the Lord?
The Lord is
John.
God, Yahweh.
Okay, so then Jesus
He's not
shows up. So
coming in
Mark thinks
flesh.
Jesus is God.
Yeah, he's coming.
Cool.
He's coming. The coming in flesh is when the Messiah delivers the Jewish
this
people
is the Messiah.
from
You're on board
captivity
now.
in Rome. That
This is
didn't
the
happen
Messiah.
though. That's
What do you
happening when
mean?
Jesus comes back in his return.
What do you mean he didn't deliver? Well, that's really weird.
Yeah,
Mark
he failed.
Oh,
he failed
what
as Messiah.
What do you think he failed?
Because he was supposed to be the king of the Jews and
Who said
deliver them
that?
from Rome. Instead,
Why do you
he
think
was
he's not
crucified as a slave.
Oh, okay, cool. So is this still about Mark, or are you just going to go on a tangent?
Yeah, this is about Mark.
Okay, so anyway, back to the conversation.
Right.
Yeah, so Mark quotes
So
Isaiah
again,
3, Malachi
just show
3:1,
me in
and
Mark where it says, show me in Mark where it says that Jesus is Yahweh as flesh.
Yeah, prepare the way for the coming of the Lord, and then Jesus shows up and he changes the personal pronouns from
and
the
I
you
just
and
said
the
the way of the Lord is what does Jesus say is coming when he's talking all through Mark?
Yeah, the kingdom of God.
The kingdom of God, right?
1
the
minute
way
left.
of the Lord, the coming of the Lord. What's he talking about? The day of the Lord. What does he talk about when he says the day of the Lord in Mark?
The day of the Lord, a terrible judgment.
Right. At the end of time.
No, that's 70 AD.
Everyone will be judged and Israel will be freed from captivity.
Just the covenant breakers, and that has to do with the temple falling and the veil being ripped and the end of the sacrificial system. That's completely wrong.
Oh yeah,
Yahweh returning to his people in
Where's
judgment and redemption and kingship.
In Mark?
Malachi explicitly says he comes to his temple. Isaiah says the Lord comes to reign and restore.
End of the sacrificial system in Mark?
Yeah, 70 AD.
70 AD.
Yeah, that's the end of the sacrificial system.
Well,
no, it's not in Mark. You brought the conversation there.
Right.
You're the one. You're the one talking about eschatology.
Look, the predicted day of the Lord is the return of Jesus. Mark thought that was
not according to Mark, because Yahweh returning to people in judgment, redemption, and kingship, and Malachi explicitly says he comes to his temple. Isaiah says the Lord to comes on high and restore the temple. That's not an optional detail.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen in the
day
of the Lord. When he comes back, he's going to restore his temple.
We do have to stop right there.
Oh, okay, cool. But that's eschatology.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's what eschatology is. What happens when you're in apocalyptic prophecy.
Guys, we got to stop. So that's going to conclude the first round of cross-examination. No, that's going to conclude Ben's cross-examination. Now we're going to move on to Constantine's cross-examination. Your 10 minutes is going to start whenever you say your first word, Constantine.
Cool. Like I said earlier, I have a two-pronged attack on adoptionism. The first one is the Greek grammar. The second is the Old Testament theology. So I got to ask you, Ben, the demons in Mark 1:24. Why did Mark choose to use the word hoida in the perfect tense, active indicative, which is the first person singular, which denotes a state of pre-existing knowledge that suggests the demons have always known Jesus' divine identity, rather than use the word eknon, which is an aorist active indicative of the first person singular, which conveys a newly arrived knowledge? Why didn't he just say egnon?
I don't know.
Okay, next question. In Mark chapter 1 at verse 7, why did Mark choose to use the word erkatai, which is the present indicative middle third person singular, which denotes the stronger one is already inherently strong and eternally existing, rather than eleusatai, which is a future indicative middle third person singular, which conveys a coming that begins at a later point, like post-baptism exaltation? Why didn't he say eleusatai?
You said Mark 1:7.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that's more powerful than I, coming after me.
Yeah.
And I'm not worthy to stoop down and untie the thong of his sandals. I
Yeah,
have
why did he
baptized
say
you with
erkatai?
water. Which is the word?
Yeah, so Mark
The
chooses
one?
to use erkatai.
The one?
The one who's coming. That denotes a stronger one is already inherently stronger. So this has to do a lot with the
one
Greek
who is
reading,
more
right?
powerful than I, he says.
Right. But hold on, we're talking about the Greek though, right? So the eleusatai was a future indicative middle third person singular, which conveys a coming that begins at a later point, like post-baptism.
I mean, does it change? Does it change
So,
the fact that
yeah,
John
absolutely.
said the one who is more powerful than I is coming after me?
Yeah, because if Mark would have
It's a
used this
different
in
meaning
Greek,
than that?
it would have denoted, it would have denoted that there was a stronger one who was
So
already
what's the
inherently
translation
strong.
that you use?
Well,
What's the
I'm using the
translation that
Greek
you would prefer?
translation.
Yeah,
So
you're explaining me
why
the
did Mark
tenses.
choose
What
to use
fucking way
erkatai?
would you translate? What way would you translate?
If I wanted your position, I would have chose eleusatai, right? But he uses erkatai. We'll move on.
I'm not
Next question.
speaking Greek.
Well, that's too bad because he wrote his gospel
how
in
would
Greek.
you translate it?
So again, why did Mark choose to use the word
Just give me a
hapastello?
paraphrase of what you think Mark is saying.
Yeah. So in other words, when he says erkatai, right? This is the present indicative middle third person singular,
I
which
get it.
denotes, right? Okay.
I get
That the stronger that has a strong indication that the one is already inherently strong. This is what the verb tense does. It's an eternally existing rather than eleusatai, which is a future indicative middle third person. It would have made more sense for him to use that within his grammar.
So
do you know why
John
he didn't
is
use that word?
John is implying that Jesus is more powerful than him. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's about when he was implying it. So it's a matter of tense and
So
time.
before Jesus got there, John was implying that he was more powerful than him.
No,
Also, really quick reminder, Constantine, this is your cross-examination. So.
Oh yeah, thank you. By the way, hey, so listen, we'll move forward. Why did Mark choose to use the word hapastello? It was the present indicative active in the first person singular, which denotes God sending is already in motion, assuming that Jesus is eternal status rather than apostello, which is a future indicative active first person singular, which conveys a delayed or newly initiated action. It seems much more like a fitting choice if he was adoptionistic. Why not say apostello?
Can you explain the verse in English?
This is fun.
Or give me the fucking reference.
All right, cool. We'll go to the next question.
Yeah, if I knew that we were going to speak Greek here, I would have told you. I don't speak Greek.
Oh, that's too bad. I do. So let me ask you this in Mark chapter 1 at verse 11. Why did Mark choose to use the present tense verb of a in the present indicative active in the second person singular, which denotes an existing, ongoing, eternal state of the sonship, rather than the inceptive aorist tense verb of egenethesis and the aorist indicative passive second person, right, which conveys a new becoming or adoption? Why didn't he use that? I mean, if Mark was just an adoptionist, why not say egenethes?
I think that it's difficult to say that Mark per se was an adoptionist. What I wanted to do if we had a chance, was to look at how Mark's original audience would take this and what type of expectations they would have.
Well, they would have taken it, and they would have taken it in Greek. So let me ask you another question, since you were
in
Greek readers.
But they wouldn't have the assumptions that you're making right now.
I'm just reading the Greek. These aren't assumptions.
About a present pre-existing son. That's just like a tense that you're making this
I'm
assumption.
asking you about the Greek words, man.
Yeah,
So listen,
you're making an assumption theologically and then using the Greek tense.
No, the Greek verbs
say, like,
are making
look,
the assumption.
if you assume this assumption, the
no,
Greek
it's
is
just
backing up that assumption.
It's just the BDAG, bro. It's the BDAG. Listen, we'll move on. Mark chapter 1 at verse 11. Why did Mark choose to use the aorist tense verb of eudokesa, which is an aorist indicative active first person singular, which denotes a timeless delight in an already pre-chosen eternal son, rather than eudika, which is a perfect indicative active first person singular, which conveys a newly completed delight beginning at baptism? Why not say eudika?
Isn't he quoting the Septuagint?
No, this is Mark's own narrative.
Yeah, but isn't he quoting? This is the
No, we're in the baptism scene now. I gave you the verse.
Yeah, 11, right? You are my son, the beloved, with whom I'm well pleased.
Yeah, why not use a eudika if you wanted to convey?
That's not referencing the Septuagint.
I'm asking. No, no. I'm asking you about the verb tense he chose to use, because if we want to reference the Septuagint, right, in Psalms 2:7, he directly removes.
No, it's not Psalm 2:7 though. It's not.
It's not. Okay, cool. So you don't want to talk about that anymore.
You even brought it up before. Hold on.
So listen, in Mark chapter 1, verse 9.
It's Isaiah 42:1 and Isaiah 44:2 that he references.
Yeah, why did he use a eudokesa instead of a eudika? That would have been more for your view. I mean, that would have lended weight to your argument.
Upon him. So what is it in Isaiah 42:1?
No. I'm asking you about what Mark wrote.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm trying to figure it out, because Mark is referencing back to these passages.
Yeah,
so it may have something to do with the word that he's choosing.
I'm asking you about the verb tense that he uses and doesn't use.
Is he quoting from Isaiah
this is Mark's
42
narrative.
Or 44?
No, this is Mark's narrative. So I'm just going to move on. This has been a blunder. So Mark chapter 1 at verse 9. Why did Mark choose to use the aorist tense verb elthein, which is the aorist indicative active of the third person singular, which denotes Jesus' arrival as the fulfillment of an eternal divine plan, rather than erikata, which is the imperfect indicative active third person singular, which conveys a gradual or newly initiated coming as an exalted figure later? Why not say erikato? I mean, this one's easy because he clearly knows the verb erikato. He uses it 3 other times. Why not use that verb? That would have helped your case.
So which is the word that you're referencing?
Yeah, we're in Mark chapter 1 at verse 9. Look at the aorist tense verb of elthein, which is the aorist indicative active, the third person singular, which denotes Jesus' arrival as the fulfillment of an eternal divine plan. That makes sense. Now, if he didn't want to say that, he could have said erikato with the eta, right? But he didn't. The imperfect indicative active third person singular, which conveys a gradual or newly initiated thing, if he was exalted later. Why not say that? Because he uses it other times in his Greek.
You said 1:9.
All right, we'll go to another one. We'll go to chapter 2. Hey, Mark chapter 2, verse 1. Forgiveness of sin. You ought to like this one. Why did Mark choose to use the present tense verb of ehi, which is the present indicative active of the third person singular, which denotes an inherent eternal authority to forgive sins, rather than the aorist tense verb of elaben, which is an aorist indicative active third person singular, which conveys authority received or delegated at a specific point? Why not say elaben?
I don't think that he's making the claim that his authority and teaching.
I'm asking you about the tense verbs. Why did you use those tense verbs?
I mean, nobody even knows what you're talking about, because I'm sure the 22.
Well, that's too bad. The people who read the people who read this gospel, they certainly did. All right, so that's more to your point, though. Mark chapter 2 at verse 28. Lord of the Sabbath. Why did Mark choose to use the word estein in the present active indicative of the third person singular, which denotes an inherent eternal state as the Lord of the Sabbath, rather than the aorist tense verb agenita? That one he uses at least 28 times. Why not use agenita? We know Mark loves that word. He's got it 28 times. That would have that would have lended a lot of weight to your argument. I don't think let me ask you this. Why does Mark's Greek grammar contradict your position all the time?
I don't think I ever got to state my position exactly. So.
Well, the thesis of the debate is that Mark is an adoptionist. I hope that's your position, or
Yeah,
you
I
wandered
didn't
into
get
the wrong
to
debate.
clarify what I meant by adoptionism.
All right. Do I got any time left? I got some more.
6 seconds.
Yeah, man, I'm good.
Okay, and with that, that's going to conclude the first round of cross-examination. We're going to do one more round of cross-examination and then move on to closers. So Ben, this is your time to ask questions. You get 10 minutes and it starts whenever you say your first word.
Okay, so you don't care about the Alexandrian tradition as far as the Son of God being preserved.
Yeah, but anyway, it doesn't matter, right? Because the Roman soldier says, truly this was the Son of God, looking back in the aorist tense, right? So that could just go throughout the whole narrative, right? I can just give you the Son of God omission.
Well, that happens
but the problem is,
after. I mean,
but
that
the
happens
problem with
after
the
the
Son of God,
baptism, right?
no, it doesn't.
So it would be after the baptism. Still.
Okay, so if he becomes the Son of
baptism
God,
would still be in the past, right?
Well, the Son of God is in the very first verse. It's in the earliest manuscripts from
That
Irenaeus
was my
to
question,
Dietitius
right?
Caron.
Never mind, reclaiming my time. So
Okay.
again, is it in the verse or is it not? You say it doesn't matter, and then you have to immediately fall back on it.
It's definitely in the verse.
Okay,
It's definitely,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, it's not, but okay.
Okay, but I just told you why it was.
Okay. Yeah, because the centurion says later that
No,
he's the
I
Son
told
of
you
God,
the earliest
and he has
sources that
access
cite
to the
it.
verse, so that makes sense.
No, the
Okay, I
manuscripts
won't
that
even
omit
bother
it,
with
the
the
Sinaiticus
prophet
original and
Isaiah
the
stuff.
Papyrus
I mean, it's
100.
really hard because you didn't really like engage at all. All you really did was try to talk about like Greek tenses, which again, admittedly,
Because it's written in Greek?
yeah, because admittedly, I'm going to rely on a translation.
Well, that's too bad for
So-
you because he wrote it in Greek.
Yeah, but you don't even believe the footnotes in the translation.
I don't need the footnotes. I've got the
You
original
won't
Greek.
reconstruct the text. You
I don't
won't
need to
account for the
reconstruct it. I've
different.
got the
you
original
won't account
sources.
for
Do you
the
want me to
different
tell you what they
textual
are?
variants. Is that I didn't ask you a question? You won't account for the different textual variants. So
I've already accounted for them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Who sees the sky opening in the narrative?
I believe that's a private revelation to Jesus.
Okay. Who hears the voice?
I think that's also private.
Who does the voice speak to?
I think it speaks to Jesus.
Right. So what is even happening if he's the pre-existent Yahweh? What is even happening in this like story?
Yeah, the reenactment of the Exodus theme, which I've clearly spelled out in my opening arguments. He goes into the water just like Israel goes into the waters. He goes out of the waters and into the wilderness, just instead of 40 years, it's now 40 days. He goes onto the mountain and transfigures, just like Moses went onto the mountain. He feeds people in desolate places. He goes and conquers enemies. It's the recapitulation of the Exodus narrative. It has nothing to do with an ontological change. And if it was just the son of you are now my beloved son makes him adoptionist, well, then he was adopted 3 times because he's called son of like beloved son like 3 times. So did the agency lose its paperwork? That's just weird.
Yeah, I don't think it was an ontological difference. I mean, I think again, like it's referencing to those 2 passages in Isaiah that are about like that have to do with like anointing of a king. It's not like an ontological.
If it's an anointing of a king, why is it in private then?
I reject this whole like ontological notion of Jesus being like ontologically the same as Yahweh. Or I mean, I am looking at this like again, I want to focus on this as a Greco-Roman piece of literature that's written in
Greek.
Yeah, it's written in Greek.
Exactly.
But you're imposing some sort of like
I'm imposing the BDAG Greek grammar on it.
Okay. Let's see.
Cool.
I mean, I don't really know. I don't really have like places to engage with even like your argument because I don't know what your argument is most of the time.
Yeah, that he was a pre-existent son, declared from the outset in the opening prolegomena of his thesis, which Mark declares as all ancient Greco-Roman Gospels do, or ancient Greco-Roman biographies do, and that there's a Greek grammar prong of the attack that doesn't fit your narrative but fits mine, and there's also an Old Covenant theology that doesn't fit your narrative that fits mine. That's my thesis.
Where would a pre-existent? Where do we find a pre-existent son?
Yeah, when he calls
in the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Mark's gospel right here.
Yeah, but how would people know? How would people know reading Mark that that's how they're supposed to interpret it?
When Mark tells them.
they would say, "Oh, he means a pre-existent son that came into the flesh."
Well, yeah. How's God going to
Again,
adopt God if God's the one that shows up and Mark contributes it to
because
Jesus?
he's not God. That's why he adopts him.
That not according to Mark.
So again, the claim is that because the claim is that because the son is in a certain verb tense that we know that he is the pre-existing son.
No, that had nothing to do with the verb tense. That's not my argument. That's the argument from the Old Covenant theology. But the Greek grammar is what I use.
Old Covenant theology teaches you that there's a pre-existent son?
Well, like, yeah, Mark tells me that when he says that the one who's coming is the
begging
Lord.
The question.
No,
like we're
Mark
talking
telling me
about
that
Mark,
is begging the question.
And you say no, Mark is hearkening to a pre-existent.
Yeah,
Old
so
Testament
God
theology.
is pre-existent.
So where is
God is
that
pre-existent
theology
before Mark's
exist?
narrative.
You can't then claim it exists in Mark.
No, Mark declares that because God existed before.
Where
Mark's
is
gospel.
What is he declaring? How are people supposed to know there's a pre-existent son?
Yeah, prepare the way of the Lord.
How
and then Jesus shows up.
How are people familiar with that passage in a totally different context, not interpreting it that way?
They didn't have the Septuagint back then?
Mark is telling you interpret it some way different than you
Mark's
always
telling me
interpret.
that. No, Mark just told me to prepare the way for the coming of Yahweh, and then Jesus shows up, and then me and the I turns to the you and the your.
Yeah,
and then
Jesus says the kingdom of God is coming.
Yeah, not in that. I'm talking about the prolegomena.
Mark is talking about.
Mark's talking about Jesus showing up incarnate of Yahweh because he attributes those Yahweh coming texts to Jesus.
Where does it say he's the incarnate of Yahweh?
Well, that's when he shows up. He's obviously incarnate. That's just an entailment.
Yeah, but that doesn't say that.
Okay.
That's the whole point.
Right, but when you say Mark doesn't, right, when you say Mark doesn't say that,
that's begging the question. Like,
no, it's not begging the question because he doesn't need to say the entire prophecy. The Jewish authors routinely cited the opening line of a passage to invoke the entire
I'm asking you that prophecy. Where does that prophecy say Jesus? Where does that prophecy say God is coming as a man?
Right. You'll see
God is coming. The pre-incarnate Son is coming as a man. Where does the prophecy say that?
The messenger of the covenant will come to his temple, and all glory and all flesh will see it in Isaiah. Those two texts are joined together, predicated off of Exodus 23:20.
Yeah, what is that talking about? What day is that talking about?
It's talking about, well, according to Mark, it's talking about Jesus' arrival because he thinks Jesus
So everybody
is God.
saw Jesus?
Yeah, he showed up in Israel.
The temple? Everyone. Yeah. That's what the verse says?
Yeah, all flesh will see it.
All flesh saw Jesus.
Are you really going to play pedantics with all right now? Does all mean all?
I'm wondering what is Isaiah talking about?
Well, I don't care what Isaiah is talking about. Mark uses Isaiah to talk about Jesus.
What Isaiah is talking about is all flesh.
Oh, okay. So then, and good. So he says all flesh will see it, and then Mark
he's talking
says
about
that's
the
Jesus.
End of the world.
Oh, okay. But Mark says
the same
it's
thing
talking
Jesus
about right
is
now.
Talking about when he says the day of the Lord.
Yeah, Mark puts that on Jesus.
No, he doesn't.
What? That's why he opens up with the prolegomena and Jesus shows up. What are you talking about, dude?
Saying that. First of all, I don't accept.
Are we reading the same book, bro?
I don't accept that Son of God.
You don't accept what Mark wrote?
Yeah, well, it's not what Mark wrote, and that's not what most scholars think.
Oh, okay. So now this is about chronological authorship. I thought the frame of the debate was what Mark believed, bro.
Yeah, but we have to understand what Mark actually wrote.
Yeah, but we're reading what Mark wrote, and I just wrote it.
We can just say, like, oh, Mark wrote whatever. Yeah, Mark wrote the end of Mark where there's all the appearances too, right?
No, I don't even know how that has anything to do with what we're talking about.
We do follow the scholarship on that, right? We do follow the scholarship on that.
I don't know what we're talking about at this point.
Now we're talking about the end of Mark. What do you think about the end of Mark? The longer endings.
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't accept it.
You don't accept it? Why not?
No. It seems to be a later added addition, like within the 5th century or something like that.
How do you know that?
The scholarly consensus on it.
Okay. So what do you think about Son of God in Mark 1:1?
Yeah, with the Son of God, I mean, I already gave you the answer on that, though. I mean, we can talk about it again.
Well, you don't accept scholarly consensus.
No, I do, because listen, the earliest sources, I'm going to give you the answer, right? The earliest sources that record Mark 1:1.
Early sources is not what you said, though. You said scholarly consensus. You didn't say early sources before.
Okay, my bad. So before the manuscripts that omit Sinaiticus original and papyrus, those are the ones that omit it, right? You have Tatian's Diatessaron, which is composed 160 to 170 AD. That's way before that. It has the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Irenaeus of Lyons quotes it in his Against Heresies. That's written like 3 centuries before those omitted it. Look, I don't care. Look, it doesn't matter what the later manuscripts record. I care about the early ones, and they say the beginning of the
gospel.
gospel of
Bad
Jesus.
methodology, though. That's what I was going to talk about.
To rely on the early
go,
manuscripts is
yeah,
a bad
you can't
methodology.
Go, you have to look at all the manuscripts and use a critical.
I like
method.
the early ones. I guess that's
yeah,
just my
early
preference.
is good. Early is good, but sometimes early is not perfect.
I
you can't
guess.
just go by early.
Well, the early ones believed he was the Son of God, so
any
I guess
textual
that
critic
means
will tell you that early is not the only criteria.
Maybe you should have invited them to the debate. I don't know, but I just go with the earliest manuscripts, and they say Jesus Christ, the gospel, Son of God. I mean, that's just what it says, bro. Those are the earliest ones. These are the earlier sources that directly record the phrase "Son of God" in Mark 1:1, both from the 2nd century, long before any manuscripts that admit it. I'm unconcerned with the Alexandrians kept or failed to keep. I'm only interested in the earliest citations that preserve the text. Therefore, the Son of God stands. Amen.
Okay. So the
we're gonna have to end it there, guys. That's gonna be the conclusion. Ben's cross-examination period. Now, Constantine, you're gonna get 10 minutes, and then after that, we're gonna move on to closing statements, and then we're going to do audience questions, comments, and concerns. I'm gonna post a link in the TikTok, and basically you can use that link. Just post it in the browser to get onto StreamYard, and I'll invite you onto the stage. We're using StreamYard, the program, and we're broadcasting this to YouTube and TikTok. So, Constantine, your 10 minutes starts whenever you say your first word.
Yeah, just real quick. Let me pull this up. I got a few questions written out. So, I'm ready to start now.
Go ahead.
So, Ben, if Jesus was merely adopted, then why does Mark weave Psalm 110 and Daniel 7, which place the Son's existence before creation, into his narrative? For example, in Psalms 110, which is what he cites in the Septuagint, explicitly locates the beginning of my Lord before the morning star. That is before the universe begins. So when, in your view, did the pre-cosmic beginning occur, and how can a created human be begotten before creation?
I mean, I don't think that he's begotten before creation.
Well, that's what the text says. He invokes Psalm 110.
Where is he invoking Psalm 10 that you're invoking?
Psalms 110 is invoked at the court scene. He says, "Are you the Son of the Blessed One?" And he says, "Amen, amen, ego eimi," which is, guess what? I am that I am. Ego eimi. That's interesting. You will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of glory, who, by the way, receives dominion in Pelach worship, and he will be seated at the right hand of the throne. Right? That one who's seated at the right hand of the throne, Benjamin, he has a certain set of attributes with him. One of them is that he'll make his enemies a footstool. The other one is that he's begotten before the morning star, according to the Septuagint, which is the one that Mark is quoting. So, before the morning star in Second Temple Judaism, that's the cosmology. That's the morning star. The Iosophoros is the first created light that appears before dawn. It marks the boundary between non-creation and creation. Say to something happen before the morning star is to take place, before the first created light, which is a symbolic meaning of the created order. And this is how Jews used in the phrase apocalyptic wisdom and liturgical text. It's not about sunrise. So why does he say that? Why does Mark believe that he's the one who's seated at the right hand of the throne and therefore begotten of the morning star, if he's quoting the Septuagint? Eusaphoru, egenesa say, I begot you before the morning star. Verse 3. So how can he be adopted if he was pre-existent before the dawn of time?
So Mark is, it's like, I can't follow these questions. Like,
What
I don't even know. What are you asking me?
So Psalms 110 at the court
Right, I know Psalm 110.
Okay.
What is the reference in Mark? In Mark 16,
Mark
where he says he's the Son of Man?
Yeah, so God, why are you still on the Son of Man thing? Listen,
that's what you just quoted.
Are you the Son of the Blessed One? Are you the Mashiach? Amen, amen. Ego eimi. I am. Exodus reference, I am that I am. And then it says, you will see the Son of Man riding on the clouds of glory, right? By the way, that receives dominion and worship. And also with that, Benjamin, he will be seated at the right hand of the throne. That's not a little bitty throne. It's a big throne. And now that person has a set of attributes with it. The entailment of that is he'll make his enemies a footstool, as well as be begotten before the morning star. That's the Septuagint quote. That's the one that Mark cites. Those are the attributes of the one who's seated at the right hand of the throne. Why would Mark use that if he was adopted?
I don't think that there's a pre-existent.
I don't care what you think. I'm asking you why Mark puts it in there, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're misrepresenting Psalm 110, and I think you're
it doesn't say
misrepresenting
that? It doesn't say that in the Septuagint? You didn't look at that, did you? The earliest Jewish interpretation of Psalm 110 at verse 3 is a Septuagint reading, and this is the one that he explicitly teaches. It's a pretemporal beginning. What? Oh, my goodness. So, what's it going to be? I'll give it to you in a syllogism. Here's P1. If the Hebrew scriptures, the morning stars, are created beings, like Job 38:7, premise 2, Psalms 110 at verse 3, Septuagint says, the Messiah is begotten before the morning star, which is pro eusophoru egenesase. The conclusion, therefore, is the Messiah is begotten before created beings, which means before creation, which means pre-existent. This is just logically unavoidable. Why would Mark put that in there if he was an adoptionist?
I mean, again, Psalm 110, you're saying it's about the Messiah, but I don't think that's what Psalm 110 is originally about.
No. We're asking why Mark puts it in there and accredits it to Jesus, because Jesus says it's about him, and this is Mark's gospel, and this is who Jesus is talking to.
Jesus is the Messiah in Mark's gospel.
Well, he's also saying he's seated at the right hand of the throne. How can he be adopted if he's seated at the right hand of the throne and pre-existent before the morning star? That's weird.
Well, I don't read pre-existent before the morning star in
Mark's you don't know what the morning star means? It's in verse 3. It's just a natural entailment of part of the attribute that comes with being seated at the right hand of the throne. Look,
that's
if
the
Jesus
Son of
is
Man. The Son of Man is seated at the right hand.
The Son of Man is quoted and infused in a composite citation with Psalms 110. It is not just Daniel 7. It is also Psalms 110. You don't know your old covenant, do you? Listen, if Jesus is merely a human and only becomes God's son at baptism, when did this pre-cosmic begetting occur? And how can a created human be begotten before the universe exists? Come on, Ben. All right, I got another one for you, Ben. Good game, though. Mark explicitly ties Jesus' Psalms 110 and Daniel 7 text describing a pre-existent heavenly figure. Why would Mark anchor Jesus' identity passages that contradict adoptionism?
The Son of Man is a pre-existent heavenly figure?
I'm sorry, it doesn't say Son of Man. It says the Son of Man is the one who comes on the clouds of glory. You will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of glory, right? And then he will be seated at the right hand of the throne.
Daniel 7.
Yeah, and Psalms 110. Right. So you'll see him coming on the clouds of glory, and he'll be seated at the right hand of the throne. But the one who's seated at the right hand of the throne is begotten before the morning star, because that's a Septuagint translation in which Mark invokes. How can he be begotten before the dawn of time and be adopted, Ben? All right, I'll go to the next one. GG. In Malachi chapter 3:1, the Lord, Ha-Adon, with the definite article, in whom you seek, will suddenly come to his temple. Ha-Adon, with the article, is used exclusively for Yahweh alone. Exodus 23:17, Isaiah 1:24, 3:1. If this is just an adopted human Messiah at some point, who is the Lord coming to his own temple, and why does Mark apply it to Jesus? Ben?
The Lord is coming to his own temple?
Yeah, the Lord's coming to his own temple. Do you want me to repeat the question? Why is Mark applying this to Jesus?
Repeat the question.
Okay, Malachi chapter 3:1, which is what Mark cites at the beginning of his prolegomma. The Lord, Ha-Adon, with the definite article.
So we're back there.
Yeah,
yes, we're back at the beginning. Okay.
Yes, whom you seek, right? In Malachi 3, the Lord and who you seek will suddenly come to his temple, Ha-Adon, with the article. That's used exclusively for Yahweh alone. How does God adopt God? If this is just a human Messiah adopted at some point, who is the Lord coming to his own temple? Why is he giving his house away? And why does Mark apply it to Jesus? I mean, after all, he's adopted, right? Well, how does that make sense?
So again, I think that you're misrepresenting Malachi. Like in its original
misrepresenting
context.
What Mark wrote? That's a direct quotation, bro. All right. We'll keep going. It's almost over, Ben. So when he cites Malachi 3:1 and Isaiah 40 together, both prophecies point to the same destination, Yahweh returning to his temple. Malachi says he comes to his temple. Isaiah says the Lord comes to judge, redeem, and reign. The temple is already baked into the expectation, Ben. So when Mark announces the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, which is in the earliest manuscripts, he identifies the messenger and the Lord and the one who prepares the way. And then who walks in, John? Excuse me, who walks in, Ben? It's Jesus. He follows a narrative and drives straight to Jerusalem, straight to the temple, straight to the cleansing. How can he do that and be adopted? Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, again, I think you're taking how Mark is using those passages is not what you're saying.
Oh, yeah,
One
when he
minute
states
left.
them, and then when he states them and he says, this is Jesus, he says, hey, check this out. The Ha-Adon with a definite article, whom you seek will come to his temple, right? First Chronicles 21:1 declares the temple is not for man, but for God.
He's going to
How's
his
he giving
temple?
away his temple to someone who's adopted? That's
Says,
weird.
See, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you. Who's the messenger? John the Baptist.
Oh, the messenger. Yes, that's a theophanic
who will
agent.
prepare your
The
way.
messenger of the covenant. Who's the messenger
Your
of the
way.
covenant and whom
No,
is
he's
called
the messenger
that goes
that's
to his temple? Whose temple is it?
Where's the temple in that passage?
Oh, did you read the rest of Malachi? Do you think it doesn't
No,
count
you
because
want to go
he's
back
only
to
quoting one
Malachi. So
verse?
what's Malachi? So again, are we
That's
going
not a
with what
citation.
Mark,
If that's just a
are we
sentence at that
going
point.
with what Mark is trying to say, or are we going with what
Mark
Malachi
quotes
is trying to say?
Malachi 3, bro.
Not the whole thing. He doesn't quote anything about going to the
Oh, he
temple.
doesn't quote the whole thing. So it's not
Right.
necessarily entailment that if he's
No,
going to the
he's
temple
not.
and then the Malachi, yeah,
No,
so that would
because
just be a
again, this is
sentence.
the
That
whole
wouldn't
point.
be a quotation.
All right,
now,
guys.
would it?
Pause it
You're
right.
importing your own theology into what
All
Mark
right,
is
guys.
trying
All
to
right,
do.
guys. We have to stop it right there. That's going to conclude 2 rounds of cross-examination. So now we're moving on to final statements. Ben, you're going to get 4 minutes on the clock. Let me set up the clock. 4:00. You're going to get 4 minutes on the clock to do your cross-examination. It starts whenever you say your first word. Or no, your final statements, your closing statements. It starts when you say your first word.
Okay, I'm just going to read the passage. And again, all I ask is that you think about what Mark actually wrote and read it as Mark's original audience, which would have been Greek and Roman speaking people in the Greek and Roman world. The beginning of the good news of Jesus Christ. As it is written in the prophet, so I am sending my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, who makes his path straight. John the Baptizer appeared in the wilderness, proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. And people from the whole Judean countryside and all the people of Jerusalem were going out to him and were baptized by him in the river Jordan, confessing their sins. Now John was clothed with camel hair and a leather belt around his waist, and he ate locusts and wild honey. He proclaimed, "The one who is more powerful than I am is coming after me, and I am not worthy to stoop down and untie the thong of his sandals. I have baptized you with water, but he will baptize you with Holy Spirit." In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee, and he was baptized by John in the Jordan. And just as he was coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens torn open and the Spirit descending like a dove on him. And a voice from the heavens, "You are my Son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." So again, I think it's just like, I'm not trying to make any broad theological claim about Jesus changing from one ontology to another. I'm just trying to read Mark in his most simple and clear reading. Again, trying to reconstruct the text to what Mark originally wrote, which Constantine had resistance to, but that's fine. Like, we can agree to disagree about that, but trying to read Mark in as much as we can in a clear way. And I think that doesn't involve going back to the Hebrew Bible texts and expanding this whole theology out of them that people wouldn't have known. This is like a Christian theology that's much later, that Constantine is importing back onto the text. It would not be in the mind of the original readers, like Greek and Roman readers, who would be much more attuned to the notion of spirit coming upon someone or someone being adopted as God's son, which is something that made sense in the Greco-Roman world. Again, I just highlight that the It's not an event that's like a public proclamation of Jesus's ministry beginning. It's something that's very private, where God is speaking directly to Jesus. Jesus directly sees the sky opened up. And I just think that like the way that Jesus is introduced into this scene, it just is like very simple. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John of the Jordan. Like that doesn't seem to be referring to some pre-incarnate Son of God.
1 minute left.
So that's all I would say. I am not a Greek scholar, although I did take Greek for 2 years in college, but I skipped most of the classes and barely passed. But I would just say, again, just try to read it in its most simple form. Try to think about the audience that would have read Mark originally, and not try to put a bunch of preconceived notions on top of what Mark is writing.
Okay, and with that, there was 29 seconds left on the clock. So, Constantine, your 4-minute closer is going to start whenever you say your first word.
Yeah, so cool. Adoptionism language, right? So Mark 1 verse 11 is not adoption language. Like Psalms 2:7 is the allusion, right? So today I've begotten you. That's the adoption moment, right? Okay, cool. But Mark deliberately omits both today and begotten, and he uses a stative present of su, you are, which declares an existing state, not a new one. So Greek has verbs that are used for to become, right? Mark avoids them. He uses the dramatic aorist, which is eido keisa. It's a timeless delight. That's not a fresh decision. If adoptionism, why remove the exact words that make it adoptive? The grammar affirms eternal sonship, not creation at baptism. Okay, so that's just strange. My position has remained firm. No, Mark does not teach adoptionism. He presents Jesus as the eternal divine Son of God from the beginning, a high Christology that is grounded in the text and theology as well as the grammar. The two-pronged dilemma that I set out was I raised and stands completely unanswered by my opposition. The first prong was the Old Covenant theology. Mark begins with the fusion citation from Malachi 3:1, Isaiah 40 at verse 3, prepare the way for the Lord, kurios, in the Septuagint, that equals Yahweh. And then John the Baptist, the forerunner, immediately Jesus appears as the one whose way is prepared. Well, imagine that. That's just logically reading from the text. That's plain reading. That's not imposing a later narrative. All right. This is not a human figure being promoted. It's the coming of Yahweh in the flesh, fulfilling the promise that all flesh shall see the glory of the Lord. Why? Because that's what the text says. My opponent offered no convincing answer to how God can be how he'd be adopted. Nor did he explain why Mark would apply such a powerful Yahweh coming in person where all flesh will see it language to a mere human waiting adoption. The silence from the opposition at this point is actually deafening. The second prong of my assault on this position, which is frail and deemed a heresy from the start and should remain so, is the Greek grammar. The Father's voice at the baptism declares, Su you are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Eido keisa, Mark chapter 1 at verse 11. My opponent insisted that the aorist make some sort of new punctiliar adoption moment, but the grammarians, like Daniel Wallace, classify this as timeless or otherwise a dramatic aorist, expressing God's eternal and changing delight with the present force, not a fresh decision at the Jordan. Mark deliberately omits today I've begotten you for a reason, removing the very phrase that would support the adoptionist reading. He could have used genomai, but he didn't, and he uses it 22 other times elsewhere to signal change, but he chose not to. My opponent had no convincing answer to this grammatical evidence, no alternative analysis for the aorist timeless aspect, and no explanation for the intentional omission for the today. Once again, the opposition failed to engage meaningfully. These two prongs create an inescapable dilemma for the adoptionist position. The Old Testament theology demands Jesus is pre-existent as the Lord Yahweh, while the Greek grammar rejects any shift in status at baptism. My opponent danced around but provided no resolution. The exegesis, no counterverses, no scholarly support to escape the trap. We have seen no convincing answer from the opposition on either prong. Therefore, in closing, Mark's gospel opens with the unambiguous declaration,
1 minute.
Arche, Jesu, Evangeliu Christu, Hahuios Theou, right? The Son of God. The narrative unfolds this identity through miracles, confessions, and ultimately the cross, where the Roman centurion declares, truly this man was the Son of God in 15 verse 39. This is not the story of a human climb to divinity. It is the revelation of the divine Son who came to die. Adoptionism must import meaning into silences while ignoring what Mark shouts from the very first verse and then onward. The text, the theology, and the grammar all align against adoptionism. The case is clear. Mark teaches high Christology, not adoptionism. praise his holy name and his pre-existent status, and may he reign on the throne forever. Amen. And I conclude my debate.
Okay, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in the audience, 45 people here on TikTok, thank you guys for showing up. That is the entire debate. Does Mark teach adoptionism? With that, I'm going to start the poll on TikTok, and then I'm going to post a link in the comments. Some people have been posting the link. It's going to be a StreamYard link. You'll be able to join the StreamYard program and ask your questions, comments, concerns, or critiques. We're going to give everybody 2 minutes, and we're going to try to get through as many people as possible. And yeah, with that, we'll call it a debate, call it a night. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Let me start that poll, and then I'll start bringing people up. Let's see. A couple people have posted the link already. So if you want to take that link and post it into your Google, thank you, Inference Engine. Thank you, One of a Kind. These guys are posting the links. Copy those links if you can and post it into your Google server. Try to join with a computer. That'd be best, but you can join with a phone. We'll make it work. But a computer would be best. Phones can be glitchy. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, keep posting those StreamYard comments, StreamYard links in the comment section. Grab that link if you can and post it into Google, and that's how you'll join. Thank you. Let me start the thank you, Courtney. She just posted it. And let me start that poll. Let me see. I got the poll right here. Custom. And oh wait, what? Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Oh, actually, okay, yeah, that is what I wanted. Try to see if you guys can vote on that poll. It's going to be a blue clipboard in the corner. Hopefully it's not having you send gifts. Oh my gosh, wait, it might be a gift poll. Wait, hold on, let me cancel that. Wait. God damn. Hold on. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna change that poll. Poll gift. Oh no, it's not. Okay, yeah. I think you guys can vote. Okay, yeah. There's a blue clipboard in the corner. It's gonna be on the left corner of your TikTok screen. Click on that blue clipboard, and then yeah, you'll be able to vote there. So I got a couple guests. I'm gonna bring them onto the stage on Streamlabs. And here we go. Let's see. Sir, can you hear us? Unmute your.
Oh,
unmute
my
your-
bad. I didn't know I was up here.
Yeah, Sir Fraley. He's our first guest. Thank you for being up here.
Do I get to bring up guests?
You can tell me which guest you want me to bring up.
I
and
want
yeah,
to bring. I want to bring up Courtney.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, she can go next after Sir. Absolutely.
So let me ask you something about these questions. Are they going to ask a question and then they drop down and then I can answer it, or do I got to debate like a 12 people a night?
Actually, yeah, that is a very good question. Let me tell the audience.
So
Everybody,
if Sir has a question for me, which he does, I'm assuming he asks the question, or if he has a clarifying question, I answer, and then he drops down, and then I answer the question, and then Ben gets a chance to answer it, right? But then I get to bring up a guest, and by the rules of Planet Arrakis, I get to choose my own champion. My champion, and I will choose to fight on my behalf as an Atreides will be Courtney.
I mean, I'm not sure about all that, but I do want to tell the audience, if you come up here, if you join with the link, please don't turn it into a mini debate. We do not have time for that. I was gonna give everybody 1 or 2 minutes. I think I'm gonna keep it to 1 minute, so it doesn't turn into a secondary debate. But we just need comments, questions, concerns, or critiques, and that we do need to get through the list of people who are going to be coming up here. So I'm gonna make it 1 minute. 100, and then yeah, Sir, you can start with your question, and the timer will start when you say your first word.
Well, first, Slurms is saying something about the poll being wrong. I don't know what he means there, but you might want to ask him in the chat. But yeah, I'm not here to challenge you, Constantine. I actually did just have a genuine question, and I enjoyed the debate. I think you both did well. Constantine, my question is about the Son of God variant on Mark 1:1.
Mm-hmm.
You said that it sounded like you were saying that your reason for thinking it's original is because it's in all the earliest manuscripts. And
But
what I'm wondering is,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Was I wrong about that?
No, yeah, it's in some early manuscripts as Irenaeus and Dietes and Tessitarion. But listen, I don't even need that text. I don't even need the Son of God, like,
Okay.
because he's called the Son of God, or this is my beloved Son, at the Transfiguration. He's called my beloved Son at the baptism. He's called, truly this was the Son of God, by the Roman centurion. So look, I can just grant. Right. But we do find it in early citations as well as Irenaeus of Lyons in his Against Heresies, where he quotes it twice. So it's in early manuscripts.
That wasn't going to be my question. I think Ben responded to all those anyway. But my question was, why would anyone remove that from the text? Why would any?
Yeah, I did some research on that. That's a great question, actually. So there is a lot of genitive Omicron upsilons within the Vaticanus text, right? And the Omicron upsilon, there's a certain word for it. I can't remember the name, but when you see that doubled up, they use a symbol for the word God. They use a symbol for the word Son. They use a symbol for the word Messiah. And so but to reduce the amount of ink that they're using. And so there's a lot of these genitive absolute endings. And they said, I don't know if this is convincing or not for me, but they said that within this text, the Sinaiticus guy, right, he happens to have used this a lot throughout the entire the recording of the Sinaiticus original. He tends to delete anything with an elongated Omicron upsilon ending. And so when you take those two words and you supplement them together, it just means Son of God instead of actually saying hahuiastou theou. So you don't have to write it all out. So I guess he just, throughout the entire Gospels that he recorded within Sinaiticus, he does that often. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I don't really need it necessarily. But it's a fun point to argue, I guess.
Okay, we do have to stop there.
Thanks.
That'll be it. And then we'll move to the next guest. Thank you for coming up, sir. I appreciate it.
You're going to have to kick me. I don't know how to leave this thing.
Okay. And then let's see. I guess, yeah, I kick from there. We go. Okay, and with that, yeah, if you guys could please post the links in the chat. I could post it too, but yeah, the poll is up right now. There is a blue clipboard in the left corner of the screen. Sorry, I accidentally clicked gift poll. I didn't do that intentionally. And so now the poll is, yes, you can vote for free. We got Courtney. So I'm going to bring her on the stage. It's saying that your device isn't connected. Courtney, try it on your laptop or like a computer. Phones are a bit glitchy, but try it on your on a computer. Try it again, like X out, and then come back again. Oh, well, for some reason it's saying device not connected. Do it on a Google browser. That'd probably be best. Google Chrome. And then we can get it going. But yeah, the blue clipboard is on the screen. It's in the left corner. Vote for who you thought won. Your votes are going to dictate the winner tonight. So audience, it's up to you. You're gonna get the call. But yeah, we're waiting for Courtney. But yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't have very many friends like at all. I have a weird social disorder. So like, if you just want to bring up anybody, I don't really care. I don't really have a lot of friends in the audience, I don't think.
Okay, so
you don't have to apologize for not having friends, Constantine. It's probably probably pretty common on this panel. I can't speak for Coco, but
we actually had this conversation on a live. Like, I think we come into the Matrix to make friends with people we would normally be friends with, because in our geographic regions, no one wants to talk about this topic at the Tractor Supply or at the yarn barn, right?
That's true.
But yeah, okay, Courtney, you have connected. You can unmute your mic, and yeah, you're good to go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, so my question is for Ben. I wanted to hone in on Mark chapter 1 in particular, when it quotes from two passages in the Hebrew Bible. That's going to be Isaiah chapter 40, and in verse 2, it's going to be Malachi chapter 3. It says this of Jesus, that it's a prophecy that is being fulfilled in Jesus, right? Okay, it says, I will send my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way. And then that is the quote from Malachi 3. Then verse 3 says of Isaiah chapter 40, a voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him. So then when you go over to Malachi, it says that this is a quote, messenger that he's going to send who will prepare the way before me. So that fits with the narrative. Then suddenly the Lord you are seeking will come to quote, his temple. And then it calls him the messenger of the covenant, whom you desire will come. How is it that this can be said of a person who is not pre-existing?
Go ahead, Ben, and then timer ran out. So once you answer this question, then we're good to go. Or I'll let Courtney get a follow-up question, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I would say is that we have to go back, like the way that Mark is using those passages is not necessarily it's hard to I would have to really look at it more closely. But what I think is happening is not so much the normal Christian way of interpreting would be to say like the passage that Mark is referencing refers to the Messiah, and that Messiah is Jesus. But I think that that has like a lot of interpretive preconceptions baked into that already. Because the original text in Malachi, I don't think is talking about some sort of future Messiah coming. I think it has like an immediate context in Malachi to the audience that book is written to. You know what I'm saying? So
I do. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I would just say, like, I think that there's a Christian theology that allows us to tie together these things. Like even the idea of a Messiah, like post-dates a lot of these texts, like post-dates a text like Psalm 110, because the Messiah was like an idea that was arising within like the Second Temple Judaism, and amongst like when the Jews were under like the first like kind of like the foot of the Greeks and then the foot of the Romans. Like there was this idea that a Messiah was coming, and they were reinterpreting a lot of these passages in the Hebrew Bible with that expectation. So I just like always worry about like making assumptions like from the wrong direction. So does that make sense? Like I would want to say, like, I don't think like if we look back at Malachi, that Malachi is saying there's a pre-existent son that's coming in the future. And so like when we're reading Mark, we shouldn't have that expectation when he harkens back to Malachi, because that's a later interpretation that we're imposing, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I don't know that it's a later interpretation, and I'm not here to challenge you. I'm just here to ask the question. I think that's a claim. However, looking at the way that Mark is imploring Malachi, it seems very clear to, like, even just using the English, you see it says that the messenger of the covenant is the Lord himself. And we see this in alignment with other prophets. So how would you cash that out? Like, and that's really my final, I don't have any other clarifying questions.
Okay, after you answer that, we'll move on to the next guest. The next person in line is Theo. But answer that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next guest.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what I wanted to do that maybe didn't like work out that well was sort of stress the ambiguities. Like, I think that it's really difficult to say what Mark is saying, because we have this whole reception history and canon that like restricts the interpretation of Mark within these parameters. So I would just say that like I think it does seem clear, like when you are used to Christian interpretation, to take Mark's hearkening back like the way that you're interpreting it. I just want to push back against that way of reading the text, like as a basic like presuppositional principle. It's just to try to think of the text differently than our like theological constructions. So like Mark is hearkening back to the Hebrew Bible, but we shouldn't have all these ideas of like what exactly he's doing aside from like what he's actually doing in the text.
Okay, cool beans, cool beans. Theo, welcome to the live stream. You can give your comments, questions, and concerns. I guess I'm giving everybody 2 questions, so like 1 question and 1 follow-up question. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Go ahead.
Yeah, what up, Constantine?
Theology matters. What up, bro?
Yeah. So, okay, I got a question. So I've heard you assert, I think we shouldn't be, we shouldn't think of it this way. I think this way. But throughout the whole debate, I've actually never heard I haven't heard you give an actual justification. So can you give a justification for why I think, according to the last question you answered, it's I think. So can you tell me why you think that? Can you tell me why we shouldn't read the text in that theological construction? Can you give a logical justification? That's all.
Well, yeah, I would say that the reason that we should push back on that, like, sort of familiar reading within the context of scripture and within the context of our theology is precisely because my interest is to read Mark for what Mark is really saying. And when Mark wrote in 70 CE, he didn't have the anticipation that he was going to be paired with Matthew's gospel and Luke's gospel and John's gospel, and he was going to be paired with Paul's letters, and it was going to be contextualized within the Septuagint, and it was going to be collected in like the 160s and be read into 2,000 years later with all the theological reflection that happens in between that time. So what I'm interested in, and again, it might sound like a challenge to orthodoxy. I have no like theological horse in this race. Like, this is not a reason to believe or not believe in Christianity, right? Like, this is just like saying, what is this text saying? So what I'm interested in is trying to read the author with as little preconceived notions as I can. And for me, growing up in the church, like, I have to always be pushing back on sort of like my initial assumptions about these texts. Like, oh, they're referring to the Messiah here. He's obviously like, this is like I want to read it and be surprised by the language that I'm finding and say, like, wait a second, I didn't think about it being able to be read that way. So again, that may be like totally against the way that you guys like to read scripture. It may even be like a heretical way of reading scripture. But when I read the Bible, I want to try to understand. And some of the things that Constantine was saying too are like also important to like understand, in as much as we can know who Mark was, are also important to understand what Mark is saying. Like, I don't think that it's like wrong to go back and look at those passages and try to parse out like what exactly Mark meant. But my assumption is just that we should also like look at what those texts meant in their original time before we start drawing assumptions about what Mark meant when he's using those texts, if that makes sense.
Right. So you appeal to authorial intent. My last question. You appeal to authorial intent as the justification for your argumentation, saying, and then you assert saying, well, we shouldn't read this. Again, I'm going to ask you you still didn't necessarily give a justification, at least one satisfactory. I know you gave an argument, so I'm not even going to push it. But again, when Mark, since we're appealing to authorial intent, when Mark quotes passages that are clear passages about Yahweh in the Old Testament and attributes them to Jesus, do you believe that Mark can communicate in such a way that we could understand that?
Okay, answer that, and then we're going to move on to the next guest. And yeah, reminder for the people on TikTok, the link is being posted in the chat by Inference Engine and several others. And if you can, please copy and post that link repeatedly in the chat so people can come up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's not something that, like, I wouldn't forbid Mark from doing that. Like, I think that that's like an open question. I think we have to look at instances, but I think my contention is that, like, I don't think it's as clear as Constantine presented it that Mark is saying Jesus is Yahweh. Like, he may be like, there are plenty of places in Mark where he's making implications, like even like the I am passage that Constantine brought up, Or you could talk about like the passage where Jesus walks on the water or controls the storm. Again, it's another like analogy to like the power of Yahweh. So Mark is doing that, but he's doing that as an author. And like, I am hesitant to just be like, I'm just, I guess, like more conservative in like how I'm trying to interpret it, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I'm right. I don't necessarily even think that Mark is an adoptionist. I just think that it's like, there's definitely a way you can read it that way. And Irenaeus, like, had people reading it that way in his day too, and was like worried about it, and specifically said like, all these heretics are reading Mark.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. With that, yeah, we're just waiting for like the next guest. I posted the link on YouTube, so if people want to join from YouTube, we got some watchers there. Copy that link, put it in your Google browser. If anyone on TikTok wants to join, the link's being posted in the TikTok chat. Just copy that and put it into your Google browser. But this debate, like, I'm gonna give you my honest thoughts. This debate, it makes me want to like I'm genuinely like fascinated by this. It makes me want to read the Bible like cover to cover and genuinely understand the Christian and their devotion to Christianity. This is dude, this was a fucking awesome debate. Like Constantine, amazing performance. Ed Bed, clearly you've studied. Like both of you are just phenomenal gentlemen. Like
yeah, very well done, Ben. Very well done.
Yeah, beyond the typical, very much so beyond the average biblical reader or biblical studier. You guys did absolutely great on both parts, for sure, for sure.
Next time I'll have to study my Greek before we debate Constantine.
Yep. Well, okay, I guess I have a question. So, like, New Testament, like, if not the entire Testament was written in Greek, right? And then the Old Testament's going to be ancient Hebrew.
Yeah. So, in other words, you have the Hebrew manuscripts that are the Old Covenant, and then you have some in Daniel that's in Imperial Aramaic, and then some other portions too. But the predominantly text from the Old Covenant will be in Hebrew. Now, during the intertestamental period, we can see clear translations from Jewish scribes within Alexandria. Do the Hellenized the influence that they wanted a translation of what these ancient Near Eastern Mediterranean Jews believed in, because they had some weird monotheism stuff going on while they had some pantheism stuff going on. And so they wanted to know more about what this God teaches and how the hierarchy envelops. So they translated. And so what Mark, during the lingua franca of its day, during Christ's arrival in first century Judea, the language of the time, as brutally forced by Alexander, he conquered the known world, and with that came his language, sort of like English is the lingua franca of its day now, right? And so with that, in order for it to be spread, it has to be translated, and it's a language that has the that can cross boundaries and borders and also be functionally read. And so this is why the New Testament was written in Greek, as proposed by the coming of Alexander and the known world being conquered by Greece and then influencing its language.
Okay.
Constantine, can I ask you a question real quick?
I don't know where babies come from.
Yeah, neither do I. Do you believe in Markan priority?
Yeah, I'll take the position of Markan priority. I have no problem with that. I think okay, I'll just tell you this. I think Mark is straight to the point. I think Luke is like a doctor guy. I think John is kind of a Phil bro. And I think Matthew's kind of like a Courtney-esque type of writer who's really involved in Judaism, whoever we attribute these authors to. I do, as a historical Christian, do believe that those are the authors. And I can argue for why I think they're the authors. But I also believe that the ecumenical councils in which spoke in concert attribute them with the superscriptions are always found that they're according to Markan. But I think for many centuries they believed Matthew was important or was priority. And then suddenly the dialogue shifted. But either way, I think there's a high Christology from the outset. But you would be on our small island to believe that Mark was not the first gospel these days.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because you said during the debate, I like made a mental note. You were talking about the like the proclamation at the baptism. Today I have begotten you, which is
That's Luke, yeah.
Yeah, Luke, right? But you were saying like Mark
omits that part.
So I was just like, oh, does he think that like somehow that's an earlier tradition that Mark is like redacting? That was
no, I think it's a Psalms 2:7 allusion, but R.T. France, when I was studying for this debate, said there's no real way we can prove it, but you're still on a small island, and that's a fringe view to hold if we're going to count noses as scholarship, right? So according to most, I think even Goodacre is going to say, look, as a critical scholar, this is Psalms 2:7 here. But my position with why it would seemingly go against the adoptionism, because he could have left the entire citation and said erenus enegeas or whatever to make it today I've begotten you eudika or eudikesa, but he didn't. He omits that part, which seems like if he was an adoptionist he would have left that part in. And so I think what we see throughout Mark's gospel is this polemic against not only why a Messiah must come, but why a Messiah has to die, and what it has to do with the Exodus narrative is the baptism doesn't become just this anointing or enthronement process, but it becomes the beginning of a recapitulation of the Exodus theme that we can see concurrently throughout the Gospels, concurrently throughout Mark's Gospel, and Matthew does this as well, but I know he's not part of the debate.
And we do have a guest. Sorry,
well,
yeah.
It's just me again. I don't know.
How many times is Sir going to come?
It seems like no one else wants to ask questions, so
we don't have any other guests. So like,
Courtney
yeah,
back
sir,
up there.
knock yourself out.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Courtney can come up too. I mean, we can all just hang out. I don't think anyone else really cares to ask any more questions. But I'm just wondering. We talked about. It looks like we were just talking about the variant Luke 3:22, and I'm wondering if you both think that's original. If that was original to Luke, or someone added that.
That's what I was going to bring up, sirs, because actually Constantine's right. Like, if Mark was going to be truly, clearly adoptionist, he would have just quoted Psalm 2:7, right? That's what it is, like directly, which is what Luke does in the variant.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a weakness to my argument, admittedly.
But I'm wondering, like,
but I also don't think that Mark is actually referencing Psalm 2. Like I said, I think he's referencing Isaiah 41 and 44.
Yeah, and whom my son and whom I've delighted, or I've been well pleased. Yeah.
But why does Luke have that? Why does that variant exist in Luke, though? If these Christians weren't adoptionists.
So this is a great question. Were the early Christians adoptionist, right? And so we get these two groups of people that you may or may not have studied. I don't know that the Ebionites and the Theo. Oh my gosh, it's escaping me. But we try to canvass them and we try to ask, like, okay, were these people adoptionists? Well, it's pretty hard to prove a negative as a historian. Surely there was an adoptionist amongst them, but it's hard to make this ambiguous or blanket covering thing to say that these early Christians were not adoptionists. But it seems to be from Mark's my position, which I've argued for tonight, that Mark's position was that he is certainly an incarnate form of God and has a direct interrelation with the Father. And I don't believe that is exhaustive on what we now consider the historical triune Godhead as Nicaea would position it. But I do think Mark heavily influenced their conclusions.
Okay, really quick pause, guys. We do have someone in the comments who they're struggling with internet connection, but Raven1313_TV is asking to Constantine and Ben, or maybe everybody up here, like, what made you want to start studying the Bible? So everyone can answer. And yeah, he's asking, what made you guys interested in studying the Bible so deeply, and what started you on that journey?
I can go first. I'll get mine out of the way real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a veteran in Iraq, and I was an atheist for many years. And there was one night on a roof, October 9th of 2008, where I received injuries. I'm a Purple Heart recipient, and that was the first time I ever prayed in my life. I said, God save me. But then I got, medevaced and everything out. I'm missing a piece of my left arm. And I thought, okay, no, never mind, God, I got this. It was my company, it was my radio, it was my platoon. And when I got out, I struggled with what happened with Iraq and Afghanistan for years and years. And I got this really bad addiction when I got out. I was strung out real bad. And I never really had, I always said I'd have a quiet piece of mind, a quiet piece of home, and a quiet piece of land. And I prayed and said, why can't you help me? And when I prayed, someone came to put hands on me and prayed on me, and I couldn't, this is going to sound weird, but I didn't hear an audible voice, but I felt something say, let's continue that conversation we had on that roof, except this time there was no platoon, there was no company, there was no radio, there was no medevac. And I'm not bleeding out this time, but I only weigh 110 pounds. And immediately after 5 years of addiction at like 140 units a day, enough to kill like a village in Africa, I woke up and it was like the movie Big, where I saw myself for the first time in the state that I was in, and the desire had left my body. And I just wanted to know, like, what was the cause of that? What did that to me? What made me not want to do this after this woman prayed on me? And I was a devout atheist at the time. And so I started going to church and asking all these questions that people ask now on TikTok. And they were like, dude, you need to go to seminary. You need to go to a theology school. And I still had my post 9/11 GI Bill left over from the war. So I went to theology school. And then I just kept going, and I kept learning more, and I kept learning more. And the more I learned, the closer I got. And I want to know more about the God that saved me, and I want to defend him at any chance that I get at those who scoff at the cross and his completed work. And that's what I'm doing here on TikTok.
Absolutely. And an amazing story. That's incredibly inspirational. I love it. That's awesome. Ben, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my story is a little bit less inspiring.
Sorry.
No. I mean, obviously that's nobody. That's always a good thing. Like when people find meaning in their life and are freed from addiction, and that we're happy that you have found that for your life, Constantine.
Thank you.
I mean, I grew up in the church, so I sort of had the Bible like forced upon me. But grew up a Christian. Went to Christian high school, went to Christian college, and then sort of like started deconstructing my Christianity, probably like before that was even a thing. And then sort of later on discovered like biblical scholarship that I never knew about when I was like an evangelical. And even when I was like at an evangelical college where we dealt with a lot of like the more like thorny issues of Christianity, and we're like not just like the bumper sticker Christianity, but like kind of like actually diving into some of the harder stuff. But when I discovered this biblical scholarship and like historical criticism, it was like a whole different way to read this text that I was super familiar with. So that's like a big influence on the way that I read the Bible now. I mean, one is to like sort of push back against some of the things that I felt were toxic about the original interpretation that I had, and also just to sort of find a way to enjoy reading the book and studying it in a non-religious way, but that also can like find it interesting. Like there's a lot of historical mystery and stuff to figuring out different things in the biblical text, and it's almost like a well with no bottom. Like you can just keep going forever and you're never going to run out of stuff to study. So I find it interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also find it very interesting as well. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I mean, I was a religion major in college too. So like religion in general, like that line of thinking just interests me.
Yeah. Sir or Courtney, either of you guys could go first. Basically, the question is, what got you guys to start studying the Bible? What inspired you guys to want to study the Bible?
Yeah, so mine is just basically there was a moment in high school where someone said, things look a little grim. It looks like the end times. And I remember I was writing and I happened to peek over and I thought, maybe, but like I'm sure everyone's always thought that at some point. So I started studying, and the more that I studied, the more I fell in love with the Bible, the more that I realized I didn't know as much as I thought that I knew, being raised typically in the church or whatever. You're not taught a lot of the theological things. And so the deep questions that you have to go to seminary for, you have to become a scholar for. And so I just dove into that. About 15 years ago, I became a Messianic. I have Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry on my mom's side, but Yeah, so I just became a Messianic, and I found that to be the best way to absorb all of these things in the Bible that I think are lost by the time it gets to the church pew. And so, yeah, I fell into apologetics by default because of my passion for love for the Bible, especially the Hebrew Bible. So that's really it.
Very cool. Very cool. Sir, what's your answer to the question? What got you interested in studying the Bible?
And then after this, I probably got to get going, guys.
Okay.
Well, I can sum my reason up in one word.
Yeah, go for it.
Autism.
Well,
That makes sense.
Wait, what did he say?
Autism.
he said autism.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
That could be a reason. Yeah, that's pretty cool to study the Bible. But yeah, with that, we don't seem to have any more questions. I don't have anybody in the guest request.
Well, good show, Ben. Very, very well performed. Thank you for hosting me, Coco. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, great job, guys. I'm gonna hop down.
Well done, Ben.
Or Courtney, did you have anything?
Yeah,
you came up.
We'll do it again, Constantine.
Okay,
No,
take it easy.
I don't
buddy.
have anything. I think you guys did well. My only tidbit of advice would be just remind the interlocutors that in closing statements is not the time where you introduce new evidence or proof text or anything that you might have left out in your cross or in your rebuttal phase or in your opening statement. Other than that, I think everything went pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. The closing statement is supposed to sum up the debate and basically like give the audience one last reason why they should believe that you won. And basically, it should just be everything that was contained in cross-examination, rebuttals, and opening statements for sure.
All right. Well, God bless you guys. Take it easy.
All right.
Yep.
God bless. Shalom.
And with that, we'll be ending the live stream. Thank you everyone for being here.
Can we wait till Constantine leaves so we can talk about him?
Oh,
yeah, that's fine.
No.
I get that. I get that. That's totally okay.
Wait, I can't hear you guys.
They dipped. But yeah, I guess I'm just gonna close it out here. Thank you guys for being here. Everybody on TikTok, there's 25 people still in the room. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching the debate. I will be posting it on YouTube, on my channel, on Day of Debates channel, on Right Here, Right Now's channel. It will be everywhere. But we genuinely appreciate you guys. This is Day of Debates where we're trying to bring professional debates to TikTok. We host professional debates that entertain and educate. And then my name is Mr. Coco. I run the Controversial Compass page, a space where only the best ideas win. And again, the goal is to bring professional debates to TikTok and have debates, conversations, and let everybody share their ideas equally. It was an amazing debate today. I do have the winner. I do have the results of the poll. I'll be posting that on technically, I could post it tonight. I guess I'll post it tonight on my page. I'll post it tonight on the Day of Debates page, and then the whole debate will be posted maybe tonight or tomorrow. But with that, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the gifts. I appreciate you guys watching. It does the gifts we do reinvest it into the project of like doing social media for a living, or funding the Day of Debates channel or the Controversial Compass channel. So thank you guys for being here. We love all of you guys, and I can't wait for the next debate event. Before I close out, I have the next debate event in my notes, so I can read that off for you guys. But the next debate event is going to be right now. I have in my notes, it's going to be Day of Debates 10, where ideas clash again. It's happening on February 20th, and the debates that I got set up right now is J-Rob versus Missy on The Christian God is Logically Possible. I got CF Jewel versus WL Sirloin on A Creator is Necessary for Our Universe. I might be able to get a Daughter of the King versus Allah's Messenger on Who is the Suffering Servant in Isaiah 53. And then the last debate I have for that day is Theosophical Wonderings versus Sticks on Fine-Tuning Favors Theism. But that'll be the next event, and I'll be happening February 20th. And then I do have a third event that's planned. I have a third event that's planned for March 6th. It's going to be Day of Debates 11, the ethics discussion. It's going to be a 3v3. It's going to be me, CF Jewel, and Tutski versus Wi-Fi Gospel and 2 other partners. It's going to be which is better for society, secular humanism versus Christian ethics. But yeah, those are the 2 next debates that we are working on upcoming. So keep an eye out for those. But other than that, yeah, I love what I do. I love hosting these debates. I love the professionalism of our channels, and I hope to do more. And I can't do it without you guys. So thank you guys for helping me out and giving us a chance. It really means a lot that you're here watching. It means a lot that you're sending gifts. With that, we're going to end the live stream. So if anyone has any last questions, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Comment now or forever hold your peace. I'm ending the live stream on YouTube. The live stream on, well, if I end the live stream on YouTube, actually, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to end it here.